Hey guys, thank you for joining in. Happy Sunday. We'll be officially starting today's broadcast at 4 p.m., but thank you to anyone who's joined. I know it's your weekend, and yeah, it's, it's a pretty big sacrifice to join like a technical event, especially on a holiday or a weekend. But yeah, I'm really grateful that you guys are here. I think I should probably start since there's some of you have already joined. Let me share my screen. All right. So hello and welcome to Google I/O Extended 2021. It's presented by Women Techmakers and Google Developers Group Lahore, specifically for celebrating Google FIREBASE. So the I/O in Google I/O stands for Innovation in the Open. The purpose of I/O is to connect developers from all over the world via GDG and WTM communities for having thoughtful discussions, hands-on learning with Google developer experts, as well as other experienced professionals in a domain, as well as grab a look at Google's latest developer products. And this is not to say that once this live session is over, we will run away and no longer have discussions about all this cool technology. No, this will carry on throughout the year, as you will see at our other events like DevFest. So hopefully you guys are excited about this event as well as our upcoming ones in the future. So first, I'd like to explain what Women Techmakers as a community represents. It's a global program by Google that means to provide visibility and resources, as well as a sense of community to all the women in technology that Google can reach. It was founded in 2014 and it's been active all over the world ever since, bringing in thousands of women in our events and leadership programs. So because of that reason, I am very proud to be a WTM ambassador for GDG Lahore and hopefully continue to be one for the future, bringing you entertaining events in tech, such as this one. Myself, I work in machine learning, so I'm hoping to add more and more components of that as well in our programs. So the existence of Women Techmakers in Pakistan currently extends not only to GDG Lahore, but also in Karachi, Islamabad, and Peshawar. So if you're joining us live, I'd love to hear where you're joining us from and whether you'd like to open up a Women Techmakers community in your hometown. And I'd definitely help you, get that set up as quick as possible. We're always looking to grow our community within these cities as well as reach beyond to other cities and other areas where Women Techmakers can exist. So to show you some of our superheroes, we have Hafsa, the DevRel Community Manager from Google Singapore. We have me, the WTM Ambassador and Lead from GDG Lahore. We have Iram, Mashal, and Ayman carrying different roles all across GDG and WTM Islamabad. We have Annie from Peshawar and Hira and Afra from GDG Karachi. So these amazing women in tech are currently killing it in all of their events and talks that they do all year round. And I'm just super proud to be a part of the team, as well as proud of their achievements. So our awesome team of Women Techmakers all over Pakistan this year divided different Google technologies amongst ourselves for the I/O Extended event series. And we decided to host these separate events dedicated to each of these technologies individually. So in the past week, you may have seen marketing posts or maybe have actually attended sessions on Android, web, Flutter, and machine learning. I presented at machine learning and had a lot of fun. But even if you didn't attend those, I still welcome you to today's event, which is all about, you guessed it, FIREBASE. So if you're attending us live, I would also love to hear your thoughts around FIREBASE, what you're expecting to get out of today's event, and whether or not you're a regular FIREBASE user. So let me know in the comments section of our live stream. This event series, as mentioned, spans the duration of 5 days, and it has over 15 different online speakers, they're spread out across 7 different streaming platforms that were centered all around GDG Live Pakistan, and they're also organized by 6 different GDG chapters. So it's definitely one of the biggest and longest collaborations that we've had since the beginning of time, I think. All of the GDZs over Pakistan, I don't think they've ever collaborated together for a single event, especially one that lasted like 5 days. So yeah, maybe thank you, COVID, for giving us this opportunity to do this. I hope after COVID we could maybe do like a in-person version of this. An in-person 5-day series of like visiting different cities. We actually had this planned, I think, the year before last year. We were only able to do it in Islamabad and Peshawar. Lahore wasn't part of that, but hopefully in the future, once COVID dies, maybe we can do something again. But I was really proud of the past 4 days where they were having different events on Flutter, Android, machine learning. They were all super exciting, and I hope today is going to be just the same. So one quick note, if you'd like to be a part of our next event, please send us an email to be featured and welcomed as a speaker. You need to be experienced in the area or technology that you want to present in. So say you want to be a machine learning speaker, then you need to have some experience in machine learning. And if you want to be a specific like TensorFlow speaker, then you need to know the specifics of that technology so that we can allow you to be featured on our website or on our Facebook page. And hopefully we can do one-on-one sessions with you or invite you to events like this one. If you want to do that, send us an email to the above mentioned email address, and we'll reach out to you. Secondly, if you'd like to partner with us as a sponsor, as a collaborator, you can also do that as well. Again, you can send an email at the mentioned address, and I'll also make note to share these email addresses in the comment section of our live stream. All right, so without further ado, let's stream the FIREBASE keynote from Google I/O 2021 and learn all about what's new and exciting about Google FIREBASE. So let me just turn off this and play this.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kristen Richards. I work on the product team for FIREBASE, Google's app development platform. Our mission is to help developers succeed by making it easy to build and operate mobile web apps. This mission feels even more important today than it ever has before. Over the past year, apps helped us navigate and adapt to our new circumstances. They kept us informed, productive, entertained, and connected to each other. And apps will no doubt play a big role in our lives for many years to come. As developers like you build and scale the apps people rely on, we here at FIREBASE are committed to providing support, resources, and technology that can unblock innovation in ways big and small. We're thrilled to share that now over 3 million apps actively use FIREBASE every month, including both fast-growing startups and large global businesses. Your trust in us is what inspires and motivates us to keep making FIREBASE even better. That's why today, I'm really excited to join you at Google I/O to share what's new in FIREBASE. In this session, we'll cover updates to our platform that will help you accelerate app development, run your app more effectively, and optimize your user experience so that you can scale with ease. Let's get started. We know that app development, like other forms of invention, can be a slow and tedious process. Your time is extremely valuable, and you should spend it doing the things that you love, like building amazing features to delight your users. FIREBASE offers fully managed infrastructure, including databases, authentication, and cloud functions that speed up and simplify app development. Now, you may think that faster development might increase the risks that something could break. Well, the safest way to develop and ship code faster is to run services locally using the FIREBASE Emulator Suite. The Emulator Suite lets you run emulated versions of our backend products on your own machine so that you can rapidly iterate without interfering with your production data or incurring costs. A few months ago, we added support for FIREBASE authentication. And now I'm pleased to announce that FIREBASE Storage is also joining the Emulator Suite, giving you complete coverage of our backend products. The Storage Emulator lets you upload, download, and modify files just like you would in production. It also interacts seamlessly with the other emulators so you can trigger FIREBASE Cloud functions and protect access to your files with FIREBASE authentication. To use the Emulator Suite, just download the FIREBASE CLI and launch the emulators on your machine. Once you've built your app, the next step is to test it to ensure it's working as designed. FIREBASE app distribution helps you distribute pre-release versions of your app to trusted testers so that you can get valuable feedback before launch. App distribution provides a central hub where you can manage all of your pre-release builds for both iOS and Android. You can send distributions from the console or use the command line tools that are already part of your workflow like Gradle, FIREBASE CLI, and Fastlane. We are excited to announce that we are launching a new feature, support for Android app bundles. With this feature, you can test the actual binaries that Android customers install on their devices. App bundles are the future of publishing with Google Play, and we want to help you make that transition. We also want to help keep your app and data secure. As the world becomes more interconnected, the threats to your data and user privacy can grow. We want to help you safeguard your data, protect your users, and control who has access to your resources and infrastructure. That's why I'm excited to announce that the new security feature, AppCheck, is now available in beta. AppCheck protects access to your services by verifying that incoming traffic is coming from your app. It will block traffic that doesn't have a valid credential, attesting that it is your app making the call. AppCheck is available for cloud storage for FIREBASE, real-time database, and cloud functions for FIREBASE, with more coming soon. To start protecting your resources, register your app with AppCheck and begin enforcing protections through the FIREBASE console. In addition to adding a new layer of security, we've released new versions of all of our FIREBASE web SDKs to beta. These improved SDKs are smaller, which improves the load times and reduces the download burden for your users. The new SDKs can be trimmed so you only include what you use for even faster loads. Now, another way that FIREBASE can save you time is through extensions. Extensions are prepackaged bundles of code that automate common development tasks and let you add new functionality to your app much faster. We started with 9 extensions, but we've been regularly adding more for you to choose from. To tell you about our newest extensions, I'm going to pass it over to Kara.
Thanks, Kristen. Today, we're excited to introduce multiple new extensions in partnership with notable Google services, as well as companies you already know and trust. To give you an example of how to use extensions, I'm going to talk about a new app that I'm building. I've gotten really into coffee recently and have started a store where I sell my favorite coffee items. As I start thinking about building out the functionality to sell products and talk to my customers, I realize there's a lot of parts to pull together, and I would rather spend my time learning about the latest coffee brewing technology. Luckily, FIREBASE Extensions is here to help. First, I want to collect payments from customers who have joined my monthly subscription coffee service. At FIREBASE Summit last year, we launched the Run subscription payments with Stripe extension, which even allows me to give out discount codes. Then, I built a message board to crowdsource ideas on what items I should offer next. I want to make sure that all the suggestions there are positive and supportive. But it's a lot of work to read through every single comment. The Analyze Toxicity with Perspective API extension allows me to use the power of machine learning to efficiently pre-review the comments so I can prioritize which ones need my attention. Toxicity is defined as a rude, disrespectful, or unreasonable comment that is likely to make you leave a discussion. By using this extension, I can seamlessly integrate machine learning into my app and have a technical tool that makes it easier to host better conversations. Then, I want to make it easy for my customers to find the items that they want to buy. Search and discovery is a critical component of any app. Today, we're excited to announce the Search with Algolia extension. This extension indexes your database so you can quickly add search and discovery features in your app. This extension even updates the index as new entries show up in your cloud Firestore. Finally, I need to communicate with my customers. And for that, we are excited to introduce extensions with 2 new partners. The Manage Marketing with MailChimp extension will allow me to sync my user data with a MailChimp audience so I can send personalized emails to my customers. You'll see that personal information about my users gets populated for me right in the email I'm about to send. But sometimes the easiest way to reach my subscribers quickly is via text message, WhatsApp, or Telegram. My users who have ordered products expect real-time updates on their shipping status. But integrating with each of these platforms one by one can be a lot of work. Here's where the Send Messages with MessageBird extension comes in. This extension allows me to quickly integrate with MessageBird so I can send messages to my users across any social network, whether it's text message, WhatsApp, or Telegram. Let's take a closer look at how this works. I go to Firebase's website to learn details about this extension. I click on Install. And now I'm on the Firebase console. I review APIs enabled, take a look at billing, grant access to my Cloud Firestore, and then tell the extension a little bit about my app, like what collection I'm storing my messages in, and adding an API key. Once installed, I can view instructions for additional setup. On the MessageBird side, I can set up which channels I plan to use. Here, I've already set up WhatsApp and Telegram. On the back end, these messages are stored right here in Cloud Firestore in a collection called Messages. Now, let me write a new document to my Cloud Firestore. Here I am, entering the user's name and the delivery window. And voila! I see that very same message on my WhatsApp. And what's more, if I go over to my MessageBird account, I can see that very same conversation in my MessageBird dashboard. With just minutes, I've set up my application to integrate with MessageBird, which allows me to automatically send messages to my customers via text message, WhatsApp, Telegram, and Line. Firebase extensions have allowed me to jumpstart my coffee app by allowing me to easily collect payments, moderate comments, and communicate with my customers. This would have previously taken me months to integrate with all these services. Now I'm ready to take my coffee app to prime time. Back to you, Kristen.
Thanks, Kara. As you just saw, we've been investing in tools and building blocks that can accelerate your app development so you can bring your idea to life and deliver value to your users in less time. With our emulator suite, which now includes Firebase storage, you can develop and test your code instantly in a safe local environment. We added support for Android app bundles and Firebase app distribution, making it more seamless to integrate your app with the Google ecosystem. We launched modularized web SDKs to improve download times. We've also launched AppCheck to help you protect your backend services. And with our new extensions like Send Messages with MessageBird and Analyze Toxicity, you can easily add new features and functionality to your app without having to research or learn new APIs or code. It's all done for you. Now let's look at what else is new in Firebase. Once your app is launched, Firebase helps you run your app more efficiently. For example, developers turn to Firebase to understand how their app is performing in the wild with Crashlytics and performance monitoring. But sometimes the influx of data after a big release can feel overwhelming. How do you interpret that data? What should you focus on? When should you take action? Firebase offers products that can uncover insights about your app quality, which you can use to deliver a great, fast, and stable experience for users. Crashlytics gives you a complete view of your app stability, alerting you when a critical crash happens so that you can resolve bugs before they impact a large number of users. Many developers use Crashlytics custom keys as a way to provide more context to understand your app's most challenging crashes. For example, you might set a custom key to mark when a user is in the checkout flow of your shopping app to help uncover issues in a key part of your code. We've recently made custom keys even more powerful by giving you custom keys search and filtering. Now you can search for trends across custom keys and filter down sessions to understand and fix your app's trickiest crashes even faster. Some of the most complex stability issues happen in mobile games. The last thing you want is to have players experience a crash just as they're about to complete a game level or unlock a big treasure. Imagine how frustrating it would be if your players had to start all over again. Well, we have just launched major improvements to the Crashlytics NDK and Unity offerings so this nightmare scenario doesn't come to life. These new updates increase visibility into your crash's root cause through more reliable and detailed stack traces, better grouping of your crashes, and we'll be adding enhanced device metadata like GPU, DPI, resolution, and more. This will help you ensure that your players get a fun gaming experience that doesn't abruptly end or come crashing down because of a bug. In addition to these new Crashlytics features, we've also enhanced Firebase performance monitoring. Performance monitoring gathers and presents data about your app's performance, so you know exactly what's happening in your app and when users are experiencing slowness from their point of view. To tell you more, I'm going to turn it over to Ali.
Thanks, Kristen. Recently launched a new dashboard to make it easier to focus on your most important performance metrics. But sometimes a major performance issue can appear in a metric you normally don't pay much attention to. For example, the percentage of frozen frames of a certain view suddenly increases because of a seemingly unrelated change. To find such issues, previously we had to check out multiple pages in the console. Not anymore. Now you can easily find all of your metrics using our brand new dashboard table without ever leaving the page. Let's check it out together. I recently pushed a change on the back end of my shopping app and want to make sure that this didn't affect my user's experience negatively. I go to the console. My top level metrics seem alright, but let's check out the dashboard table. Here it is. It includes different metrics types. Let me check on the custom traces. I've added these to my app during development to measure how long different actions take. I can sort by the relative change. Look at my open shopping cart trace. Its duration has increased by 46%. That is not good. My recent backend changes could be at fault. I know there are some network requests being made during this trace, so next I want to check on those. One of the network calls is taking 38% longer. That seems to be the reason. I need to go to work and fix the backend API. I can also add that metric to my report card to keep an eye on it. Okay, my fix is in. After some time for new data to process, I go back to my report card, and my open shopping cart trace is doing great. But what if I didn't have to wait for the performance data to be processed and could monitor the change as it was happening? This is one of the top requests we've heard from you. We know that a delay in processing makes it difficult, if not impossible, to react to performance issue manner. We've been listening, and I'm happy to announce that performance monitoring now processes the data in real time. Think about the possibilities it unlocks. For example, you can monitor the performance of your app as you're making a new release. If you're launching a new feature using remote config, it allows you to monitor and react in real time. Or if your users complain about the app being slow, you can check out the performance of your app as they're experiencing it. To get real-time performance data, all you need to do is to update to our latest SDK. Back to Kristen.
Thanks, Ali. All right, we just learned about updates to Crashlytics and saw a demo of the real-time performance monitoring dashboard. The underlying goal of these launches is to surface insights from your stability and performance data so that you can take action to improve your app quality. With FIREBASE, we want to make it easy for you to run your app and help get you ready to scale. As your app and business grow, you may need more flexibility, control, and automation capabilities to drive the outcomes you want. We've been working hard to strengthen FIREBASE Remote Config so that you can tailor FIREBASE to suit your sophisticated needs. Remote Config gives you visibility and fine-grained control over your app's configuration so that you can optimize the user experience to achieve your goals and ultimately keep users engaged. To tell you what's new in FIREBASE Remote Config, let's go to John.
Thanks, Kristen. Remote Config, as the name suggests, allows you to remotely configure your app without performing a release. Remote Config can be used to manage feature flags, create targeted configurations for specific user groups, run A/B tests, and much more. We've recently made some changes that will make it easier for you to understand your active configuration and to optimize experiences for your users. First, we've redesigned the RC console experience to bring important information to the forefront. Parameter descriptions are now longer, giving you more room to describe what a parameter controls, what values it can take, and whether or not it is safe to change. We've also made it easier for you to see very long parameter values, and it's now possible to expand or collapse parameters so you can see all conditional values if needed, or a more compact view if that's more to your liking. The publish flow has been improved to make it more obvious which of your changes are pending, so you'll never forget that last important step of publishing your newly edited configuration. We've also made some changes to make it easier to understand your remote config A/B test results. We've completely redesigned the results page to remove unnecessary information, and the remaining information is better organized, summarized, and visualized so you can act on your test results with confidence. And last but not least, we're putting the finishing touches on a new personalization feature that will automatically personalize app experiences using the power of FIREBASE and machine learning. For the last several months, we've been working with partners to ensure that this feature meets the needs of sophisticated developers like you. They've been getting fantastic results, and we are very excited to make this feature available in the coming weeks. Now I'll pass it back over to Kristen to wrap up.
Thanks, John. Throughout this session, we walked you through the work we've done to make Firebase even better. But 2021 is only halfway done. So we'll have plenty more announcements during the second half of the year on how our platform can help you accelerate app development, run your app more effectively, and optimize your user experience so that you can scale with ease. People are relying on your apps to adapt and thrive in our changing world, and you can rely on us to build, operate, and grow successful apps. Thank you for joining us, and be sure to check out the other Firebase technical sessions we have lined up at Google I/O.
Hey guys, how was that session on, it was basically the Google I/O 2021 keynote session that's specifically from Google. I hope you enjoyed it. Just to link everything that they told you with like how you can explore it, there's a website called firebase.google.com that I hope if you're a Firebase user, you already know of. If you go to /docs, here you'll find all of the documentation that will help you explore some of these new features that they've just mentioned. You'd see in the overview that there's a link to Firebase fundamentals, build, release, and monitor, and engage. If you go to these fundamentals, which I just explored while they were presenting everything, you'll see that they have like to-dos or documentation on each of those sections. So you can start with code labs on iOS or work in C++, and they have pretty well-documented references for you to follow. I hope it makes it easier. There's also a reference tab, which is specifically for like the whole API. If you're a more experienced developer and you're looking for signatures of functions. And then they also have samples so that you don't have to start with your own application, rather explore something that's already written in another language or a language of your choice for the specific functionality that you're looking for. So I think that overall, you would find this website really useful if you're looking to explore everything that they just mentioned. And there's more sessions coming up. So hopefully you will learn from Nikita, as well as this Q&A session that's also from Google I/O 2021. Let me share. And here we go.
Hey there, everyone, and welcome to Ask Firebase at Google I/O. We're completely live here. And I hope you all enjoyed the past, let's see, day and a half of Google I/O, where we got so many updates, right? I hope you caught the keynotes and what's new in Firebase. And if you did, you heard a lot of Firebase updates. And if you're like me, you'll probably have a lot of questions about those updates too. And that is good, because that's why we're here. We have a good, 30 minutes or so to answer as many questions as we can here that you have about Firebase and the new updates that we launched. If all is well, you will see somewhere around here a Q&A section. And that means that if you go there now, you will find questions that people have already asked, and there's an upvote button there. You can give them a thumbs up or an upvote. And that is good, because we're going to try and answer the most upvoted questions. And if you don't see something that you really wonder about, then type the question, and then others can upvote it, and we might answer it. Now, you hear me saying we a lot. So who's we? Let's introduce the panelists. And first up, we have Tali. And Tali, can you tell me what you do in Firebase, and what was your favorite announcement from one of the keynotes?
Oh, sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Tali Sassone. I'm an engineering director in Firebase, and I get to work on lots of fun Firebase products, including a bunch that help you make sure your app is stable, performant, growing, and engaging. What was my favorite thing you said? Favorite from it? Okay. I think I would go with all the exciting announcements around Firebase performance monitoring. It's just really, really exciting. I think it's going to be super powerful for users, and I'm so excited for folks to get their hands on it.
I can imagine. That was a really cool announcement. Okay, next up we have Rachel. Rachel, can you tell me also a bit about what you do in Firebase and what your favorite announcement was?
Hey everybody, I'm Rachel Saunders and I'm a tech writer on the DevRel team. So I work on products like Crashlytics and AdMob, performance monitoring, all sorts of good things to be able to help you have a really performant app and a monetized app. And my favorite announcement is probably the storage emulator. It finally completes our build product ecosystem so that you're finally not having to test on any type of production resources, and you can really test out everything you're doing with storage and auth and all of your other resources.
It's so awesome, right? Full local development. I love that too. And some of you might recognize Rachel because she was our host for Ask Firebase Live when we did it at Firebase Summit in Madrid.
Yes.
Now, you might also recognize our final panelist here from Ask Firebase, because I think he's the person that might have invented this show format. Welcome, David. What do you do on Firebase, and what was your favorite announcement?
So I didn't invent hashtag Ask Firebase, nor did I come up with the hashtag. I'm letting that secret out. The very first one I ever did, the GDS producer Gabe was like, you have to really go heavy with the hashtags, and from there, that's just the story. It wrote itself. But yeah, I'm David East. I'm a developer relations engineer on Firebase, and I help people learn Firebase. And and I'm here. I answer questions. So my favorite announcement, I know what you're all going to think, because you're like, weren't you going like that in that JavaScript one? So you're going to say it was the JavaScript one, but it wasn't. Well, it's because you think it was, but it was app check, because app check is crazy powerful, just unbelievable. All the how you can make your app more secure. So if you haven't seen app check, you should see that one. But JS SDK, they're both my favorites. Let's just be real. So yeah, that's what I like.
I think honestly we had so many great announcements. App check is for me also. It actually means that I have to go back to Stack Overflow and change some answers, because I said no, this isn't possible with Firebase, and now it is. So that's really good. Hey, thank you for the introductions. Thanks for indeed lots of shout outs to great launches we had. And I see we already have some questions coming up. So I'm going to read the first one, and we're then going to answer that. And the first one is from Andy, and it says, what's needed to get real-time data display for Firebase performance monitoring? And how long does it take for my performance data to appear in the Firebase console? And I think, Rachel, you might actually know a bit about that, right?
Yeah, definitely. I worked on this feature launch, and we were so incredibly excited to do it. So all you need to do to be able to get near real-time data displayed in the Firebase console is update your SDK. So get the latest version for each of the SDKs into your app, and for the performance monitoring SDK in your app. And you can actually use any SDK that was released after January 2021, but we always recommend using the very latest version of the SDK. Once you get your app rolled out with that new SDK version, you will see data display in the Firebase console within usually less than a minute, 2 minutes. Yeah. It's near real time. So you can really see what your users are experiencing in almost real time. It's incredible. But yeah, I would definitely get your SDK upgraded so that you can start seeing that data in the actually redesigned console, which is pretty nifty. It has some cool features in it too, like adding metrics that you care about to a dashboard so you can see actual real-time data populate in the chart. It's really neat.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I would add there too, if you are an existing FirePerf user and you haven't checked out the console in a while, totally come back. Check it out. See, like Rachel said, the entire new user experience that we have is in addition to the real-time data. It's really cool.
Yeah, 100% on that.
One of the major features we announced. I love that one, actually. Hey, and great question, Andy. Let's move on to the next one. And keep in mind, you can keep asking questions and upvote other questions. And who knows, we might get to yours. But the next one is from Michaela. And Michaela says, excited to see storage added to the emulator suite. What can I use it for now? And David, you know a lot about the emulator, so.
Yes, storage emulator was a big deal. I actually really enjoyed seeing a lot of the comments. So you just see, if you go to the YouTube video, the comments they're great. All these people are just lots of emoji faces and people just super excited for it. What's great about the storage emulator is that you can use it for the answer, that's what I'm going to say. You can actually use it for the same things you use it for online, but it's offline. And why that's great is that, well, A, you're not always going to have a connection when you're developing, which, I used to take a bus, not a Google bus. I used to take a other bus every day into work back and when that used to happen. And I really appreciated things that worked offline because that was super helpful for me. And so that's also great. But another thing is that if you're running integration tests and end tests, like we develop AngularFire and ReactFire and all these different libraries, we have to test to see, hey, is our storage uploads working? We can then actually upload some base64 encoded image in our unit test, and it just works. It's super fast, and we don't actually have to do that over a network connection. So we have fast integration tests running on our CI server, and it makes us happy because before we were actually doing it over a real connection, and that was not super great. So the storage emulator is huge quality of life improvement. And if you're already an emulator user, you'll just start using it, and it's pretty awesome. So if you haven't seen it, you should check it out, especially the talk that Rachel and Abe did is fantastic. So yeah, storage emulator, very nice.
Very hot stuff. I love the storage emulators. I love the emulator suite in general, although you've taken away one more reason why I'm not writing unit tests.
That's why we do it.
I know. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Let me see. This one is coming in from Jenny, I think. Yes. And Jenny was asking, I heard about personalization in what's new in Firebase. What is it and how can I use it? And that's a great question, Jenny. And I think, I see Tali moving. Tali,
yeah, I'll answer this one. I want to answer this one. I'm so excited about personalization. It's a new feature in Remote Config. And what it does is it uses machine learning to automatically optimize your app experience at the individual user level. So cool. So when you're thinking about how to use it, I guess what I'd say is you can consider using personalization for many of the use cases you might otherwise use A/B testing. Let me give you some examples. An example might include setting a game difficulty level or the right discount for a promotion. Or the frequency for video ads. Those are different ways that you might be able to leverage it. And I know folks are wondering, how do I get this? How do I get this right now? Which I'm excited. I want you to get it. So we have two suggestions for that. One is make sure that you have the latest RC SDK integrated, because you're going to be able to use personalizations without writing any additional code, which is so exciting. And then the next that I would encourage you to consider signing up for the Firebase Alpha group, because we're going to give access to this to our alpha users first. So that's a little bit about personalizations. I'm so excited for folks to be able to use it because we had some EAP partners working with it first, and they thought it was really awesome, super powerful.
I love that. So 2 steps is getting the latest SDK and then signing up for Firebase Alpha, right? firebase.google.com/alpha. That is awesome. Let's go to the next question. Let's see. This one is from Jose. And Jose is asking, how can the JavaScript vNext SDK be so much smaller? Does it still do the same thing as before? That's actually a really good question, David. Why is it so much smaller?
Yeah, that is a fantastic question. So yeah, if you haven't seen, you just look for the guy going like that in YouTube, that's me. We show that we have just released a brand new JavaScript SDK. It has not so much written a lot of it. Some teams have rewritten a ton of it, but a lot of it is also reorganized. And so in the JavaScript world and other worlds as well, but especially in JavaScript, there's this technique called tree shaking, where you can analyze what you're importing in a file, and then a tool like Rollup or Webpack is able to look at that file and say, hey, only these parts of the library are needed. And so we are able to reorganize and restructure our libraries to work really well with tree shaking. And so now when you import things from Firebase, those tools are like, oh, this is all you need. So we're going to leave all this other stuff that you're not using, aside. And then also a lot of other work went into it, like the auth team. They did such a fantastic job, like really scrutinizing a lot of the pieces in the auth SDK and really trimming it down. Even the new version of if you're using the compatibility version, you're already saving a significant amount. So yeah, there's a lot of great work. So if you have not seen it, you should check it out. You get a way better performance, and we are really excited to see how you all like it.
And I think you actually recorded a video on this, right?
I did, yes. Yeah, and I show all how it works and why it works the way it works, and then show the size differences between the new and the old versions, and also how you use our compatibility version to have a nice upgrade to the new SDK.
Yeah, it really looks wonderful. Even right with the compatibility version, it's almost drop-in, right? Not completely, but it really looks so simple.
You just change the import path, that's it. And then that's the only use you'll need to do is you just change it to a /compat path, but then all the code works exactly the same. You don't get the tree shaking benefits when you're in compat mode, but you can start incrementally adding in the new SDK, and then eventually you're not on the compat mode anymore, and you have all the awesome savings.
I love that. This was a feature that was very much requested. I know. Yeah. I'm not sure if this counts as a feature. Actually, I don't know, but it was definitely one of the
performance is a feature.
Yeah, it is true. That is true. Hey, we're going to move on to the next question. This one is about Firebase app distribution, and it comes from Rajiv. Rajiv is asking, I saw that Firebase app distribution now supports Android app bundles. Now, what does this actually enable? And I think, Tali, you might know a bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So we were super excited to announce this too. So developers that use AABs to distribute pre-release versions of their apps now will have a few things available to them. So let me see if I can list them out for you. The first one is that you can deliver smaller apps to your testers. And that's really great. Basically, what we're seeing is that APKs generated from AABs are about, someone fact check me, I think it's about like 35% smaller than universal APKs, which is super fabulous. It also allows you to test the same artifacts in Play and in Firebase. And of course, you want to make sure you're testing as close to production as possible. So that's awesome too. And then I guess the last thing I would call out here is that it allows you to leverage some of the functionality that's only available for AABs. So an example would be testing dynamic features for the Play feature delivery. That would be one example of that. So a lot of powerful support that allows users to leverage and make sure they are testing.
And we're going to move over to a question from Jürgen about Cloud Function. Oh, I love this question. This is a really good one, Jürgen. Jürgen is asking, how can I keep a Cloud Function warm for a small user base, or when users only show up during particular times, right? How can I prevent that my functions have to cold start? That's a really good question. David, do you know if we have anything there for Jürgen?
Yeah, I'm super happy I'm wearing my vintage cloud t-shirt for this. It really fits. So yes, the cloud team recently announced that they have a new awesome feature within Cloud Functions called min instances. And this is a way that you can say like, hey, I like Cloud Functions and I like them so much that I always want a minimum amount of instances around. And so let's just have one per se that's going to be running at any given time. And so that way, when people are making calls to your Cloud Function, you know that it's going to be warm and it's going to be good. That does incur a cost. You pay for it to stick around. But if you have that use case, it's usually well worth the cost. So yeah, that was a feature that was just recently announced that time of the year. And so we are working on adding that in as it gets further along. So stick around and check out what we have to say about min instances in this soon-to-be feature.
Yeah, our team is closely following this from the Google Cloud Functions team itself also, right? We are ready to launch a Firebase update as soon as it goes out from Cloud Functions itself. And I like it because it's min instances that goes hand in hand with the max instances that already existed. Mm-hmm. So you can sort of determine like the bandwidth of how much processing you expect or are willing to spend on it. Really good. And Jürgen, I wish all questions got such a wait until a few weeks from now, right? Where's the question? Hey, we're doing great. I was quickly checking the time. We're about halfway through. We're covering questions at a rapid pace, so I love it. Keep going, team. The next one is from Juan, and Juan is asking about, I think probably Firestore is my guess. And it's full text search is a defining feature for Google, but it's been missing on Firebase, except through third parties like Algolia. Are there any plans to allow indexing fields as full text search in the future? That's a really good question, Juan, and we get that one a lot. And Tali, do you want to take this one?
Sure. Let me give it a go. I guess what I would say to this one is that we are adding some functionality here, but we actually really encourage you to use tools that are built to do this, and really will work best for your search use cases. So you might have seen we made an announcement during Google I/O that we have a new extension coming out, which is search with Algolia. And I would encourage you to check that out and see if that serves what you're looking to do here.
Yeah, that's a perfect one, indeed, right? What we find is that full text search, while we are indeed really good at it at Google, it's not the same as document synchronization, right? Which is what Firestore is really focused on. Even if we would, right, at some point add full text search, it's not going to be the same as what a full text search engine does, right? It's just a very different domain. And the search with Algolia, it's now as easy as clicking to set it up, right? I can't wait to actually try that extension myself. I've only done other integrations with Algolia. Really cool. Great question, Juan. I hope we get more questions like this. I'm actually quickly going to check what the next one is. This one is from Mark. And, oh, nice one. Mark is asking, what is the best way to manage multiple environments, like, for example, dev, test, and productions? Should you run it on the one cloud project, or should you have a dedicated project for each environment? And I never know the answer to this. Rachel, do you know?
Yes, this is a question we get a lot about, like, multiple projects, managing multiple projects, as well as like working with a team with multiple projects, especially when you have this, like, you need to actually run the real environment workflow where you're testing, you're QAing, you're developing, and you have your prod. We definitely recommend having a different Firebase project for each one of those environments. You do not want to be testing on your prod resources. It will affect your users. So make sure that you do set up a different project for each one of these environments. And just to plug really fast back again to the Firestore emulator suite, you can do testing with the emulator suite. So also make sure to utilize that for some of your testing, and not necessarily always having, you do need that test environment and that test project, but that emulator suite really does help you do with a lot of that testing.
Yeah, no, the emulator suite, I love how it's now completely rounded out, right? All the backend services are in there. Yep. So I have no more excuse to not be using the emulator suite, to not be creating unit tests, and to not test on production, you said. It's like,
yes, please, please. Keep your users safe, keep your app safe.
You can always think of reasons not to write unit tests, though. Like, let's not get carried away with it.
Why are y'all against unit tests? You got to write unit tests.
I'm going to take David up on finding more reasons for me to not do this.
Oh, gosh.
And this, people, is why they don't let me build production apps. Hey, we're going to move to the next question. This one is coming from Niels. Niels is asking, with the current trend of adding server-side rendering to single-page applications, like with Angular, React, Vue, and Svelte, are there any plans to support this directly with Firebase hosting at some point? I know it's possible with things like App Engine and Cloud Run, but a fully Firebase solution would be nice, I think. It's a really long question. David, I know that you've in the past done a lot with server-side rendering.
Yes. Yeah, I've been doing stuff with server-side rendering for many years now, and that's a really fantastic question. There's lots of cool stuff like Svelte and SvelteKit, and Next.js is always doing really cool stuff. You have Remix, like the web space, we really do a great job of just churning out really cool tool after cool tool. It's a specialty of ours. And there, right now, I would say that if you want, there's multiple ways of doing this depending on the platform. If you're an Angular user, you do ng add Firebase with the CLI integration. You can do, also it'll generate your Angular Universal bundle for you, and you can do an ng deploy, and it'll automatically set up all of the Cloud Function and Firebase hosting side of things. So that is already pretty seamless with Angular. As far as other ones, we are always evaluating and looking to see how can we make this better with Next. SvelteKit, like I said, looks super cool. Next with Vue is another great one. But until we have anything like that's just like straight out of the box, like you said, Cloud Run really is your best bet. It just allows you to be as flexible as possible. You have a full container instance to be able to do things with. There's lots of amazing examples I've seen out there with running all sorts of things on Cloud Run and Firebase hosting. So I recommend that for now, but stay tuned because we really we see this trend as well, and this is something that we also want to make sure is super easy for all Firebase developers.
Yeah, I got this question actually also earlier in the I/O Adventure, in the Firebase Sandbox, from one of the developers. I had a great discussion there. Remember, folks, we are live, so if you have any questions, look for the Q&A around here and enter them now. We might answer them in the, well, few minutes we have remaining. So we'll see that. Let's quickly move on to the next question, which is coming from Vivek. And Vivek is asking, when will AppCheck be extended to Firestore? Real-time database has this first. It's like, yes, real-time database has this first. I'm happy with that. But Tali, do you know when, if we're working on Firestore, and if so, when that might be coming?
Well, thank you for the softball question, because I love these types of questions, because I get to say it is coming. We are working on it. We're so excited to get it out to users soon. So keep watching. It's coming soon.
And I love questions like this about AppCheck also, right? It's a completely new layer that we're adding to Firebase, and people are already so excited about it. And not surprisingly, right? How awesome is it that we can add security like this layer? Don't forget to check out the talk about AppCheck also. I'm not sure about the title anymore. If anyone knows, please tell me. But
it's just AppCheck is awesome.
Yeah, that probably should be it.
It
yeah, no, I know that Tyler and Rosalind are doing a great way explaining it. I learned a lot when I got a sneak preview of it. Let's see. Oh, there's the next question. I almost skipped. Nikhil was asking, are there resources available by Googlers which allow college students to like us to learn Firebase? And if yes, then where? And if no, then please suggest other external resources we can use. That's really a good question, Nikhil. We love it, by the way. Well, we love anyone who wants to use Firebase. We love it when the college students also want to use Firebase, of course. Who knows of any resources? I'm going to look at the panel now. And
should we each do one? We could like mob the answer. I don't know.
I love that we're going to do a slightly different order in that case, though, because Rachel was very quickly in raising her hand. So Rachel gets to go first.
Well, I come from a teaching background, so I love when students are asking to learn things, especially when like they're first starting out. I think it's cool. And I love what Google provides is these things called code labs. And so it's totally for beginners. They give you a working app so you can like go step by step through like an app, add things as you go. It gives you detailed instructions to be able to integrate different Firebase services. And then you have like a working app at the end of it all. It's super cool. So check it out, Code Labs. Just Firebase Code Labs into your search engine and it'll pop up a whole slew of them.
I love that. Okay, Tali, you were also excited. Which one is next? Code Labs?
Yeah.
And...
Well, I thought Code Labs was great. I would pick another one, which is the free tier. So just being aware that Firebase has a really powerful free tier so that you can go in, you can mess around, you can play and learn without charging a bunch of money.
I like that too. David, do we have anything else?
Yeah, youtube.com/Firebase,
yes.
Where on the YouTube channel, we use the free tier and we have video code labs. So yeah, amazing combination.
Everything
and
is
they can see you, right?
Sometimes, but other people. There's this show about where we like release new things in note form and then so we put all of them together, and then this one guy goes out and he tells everybody what happens whenever we release new features. It's really good. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. I enjoy it.
It's fun. I'm recording an episode of that this Friday, and I guess you already know what's new in Firebase. So that is awesome. Hey, we are rapidly approaching the end. I think we might have time for one more question. We're going to try, but we have to be quick. This one is from Marcus, and it's, is there an easy way to set up two-factor authentication for Firebase Auth? Does anyone want to take this one? I'm quickly checking to see nodding heads.
Yeah, I mean, you can set up two-factor authentication by going through, there's the docs for this, I believe, are primarily in the Cloud console. That's why I had answered. I wore the Cloud shirt. So I would check that out. I don't have a ton of experience with that myself, but from what I know that, yes, you go, maybe you can find a link and I'll find your Dory and send it over to you. But yeah, there's instructions for going to that. It's a bit of a dance between going through Cloud docs and setting some stuff up with our SDKs. But once you see the instructions, should be pretty straightforward.
That's perfect. Okay, with that, we are through with the questions we can do. I do have one question for each of you. I love that you were here. Thank you so much for helping me answer these questions. Now, what else are you looking most forward to at Google I/O? What are you going to do next? Tali, you first.
Yeah, sure. I can't believe how quick that went. If you have more questions, keep sending them to us. We'll answer them offline. What am I looking forward to? I love I/O because it's a chance to get to talk to a bunch of developers. And I know it's different this year, but I think that the tools that we've released and the ways that we're engaging virtually during this conference are awesome. So I'm excited to talk to a bunch of you.
I can imagine it's a good one. Rachel, which one is next for you? Did you already see all the talks that we released? Or?
Yeah, the thing with I'm actually interested in the workshops because like Talia was just saying, like interacting with people and other like the developers and Firebasers, like we don't get that in this virtual world, but we did end up making a way to have it work with workshops. So, the code labs I just mentioned, well, workshops are guided tutorials with a Googler or with a Firebaser walking through a code lab with you. So check out the workshops and check out code labs at the same time.
That's an awesome one. I'm actually heading over to one of the workshops right after this. David, I think I can guess what yours is, but tell us, what's your next for you at I/O here?
Well, speaking of virtual worlds, I/O Adventure is fantastic. Did you know that if you go into it, you can get a Firebase staff, and then you actually can equip it with both hands? There's a taco hat. You can play golf. And the Flutter team, they all got together and they made this big heart. And I heard in Material, maybe there was like a conga line, and I did like a mini one with. You gotta show. If you haven't been to I/O Adventure, you are just missing out. It is so fantastic between the swag and all of the stuff, all the demos. Yeah, you have to go to I/O Adventure. That's where I'm gonna go right after this. So you just come see me, and maybe we can do a conga line or make a big like Sparky, shape.
Lots of Sparky and Dash, right? That's what I know.
Yes.
I want to thank you all for being here. We are going to thank you for helping me answer all these questions. It was great to have you here. And I will see you during the rest of I/O.
Yeah, thanks, Puff.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, guys. I hope you liked the Q&A session. That was, it was taken from Google I/O's the original event in 2021. I hope the Q&A was helpful to you. If you want to see the actual questions or some of the answers that were posted by these developers, you should go over to youtube.com and then search for Google I/O. I can actually share the link in the comments. You'll find more community and questions and answers going on over there. I think there's still people posting because last I picked, there was this random question still posted. So maybe you can post as well, or find people that can answer it for you. Now I'm going to start with our next session, which is with Nikita Gandhi. She is a Firebase and Flutter speaker in GDG India. She does these Flutter communities, she manages them, as well as does a bunch of speaker sessions on these technologies. And I'm just really grateful to have her. So without further ado, let me add her into this stream. Hi, Nikita. How are you?
Hey, hi, Ramsha. How are
Hi.
you?
I'm good. All right, I'll have you start off with a bit of your introduction for our viewers.
Sure. Before that, thank you so much for having me today. And looks like we're almost winning. So high five from
High five.
Okay. So thank you so much, everyone who have tuned in today, and I hope you all are doing good. This pandemic has been there for a very long time and unexpected since it started. So I still remember those days when they declared work from home, and I was so happy that I don't have to commute from my home to office, skip all the traffic and things like that. But we all want to get back to normal. We all want to meet each other. Remember those GDG events in the past where we could exchange so many hugs, pizzas, and ideas together. So it's been a long time. So hold on, it's gonna get better soon. And uh, happy Friendships Day, all of you. Before I start introducing myself, um, my name is Nikita, and I community manage the GDG and Women Techmakers program in India. Along with that, I also manage the Flutter communities in India. So basically, a community manager by profession and a community person by heart. So that's all about myself. I speak about Flutter, Firebase, and machine learning in my free time because I like engaging with developers. Although the experience has not been the same since the virtual event started, I still hope you all make the most out of this event. Comment in the comment section how you all are doing. If you're excited about the session, what are your expectations? And if you have any questions for us. Yes, hi Madiha. Hi, how are you?
I hope she's good. She's also going to join us in a bit for her session. Yeah, that was such a great introduction. I completely agree with you. I miss all the in-person events and the food and the swag and the hugs. Yeah, it's super, yeah, super sentimental about it. All right. So I hope you enjoyed Nikita's introduction, and yeah, I'm just going to let you take over with your talk today. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So thank you so much, Ramsha. I'm here today to talk to you more about Firebase. So I'm going to tell you what new was announced in Firebase, but I saw you just heard a Q&A around Firebase. But I really hope the content is still unique and interesting in my definition for all of you. Although I don't have any new announcements from Firebase after I'm going to speak about the same. But if you have any questions or if you have any queries, happy to answer them. Without further ado, I'll share my screen so that you all have a hang around what I'm trying to speak. Okay, give me 1 minute.
If you're having trouble sharing something, let me know.
Yeah, I'll just share my screen.
All
I
right.
wanted to turn on the presenter view, so
Uh-huh.
okay. I hope you all are able to see my screen as well. And welcome to Google I/O Extended with GDG and Women Techmakers Lahore. And thank you so much for joining in. I know it's a Sunday evening, and usually developers like to spend it with themselves doing nothing. But I really hope I make this interesting for all of you. Okay, so my name is Nikita, as I spoke earlier as well, and I work with Google for more than 2.5 years now, and I community manage GDG, Women Techmakers, and Flutter communities in India. I write blogs and speak at different technical events in my free time. I'm a classical dancer and I really enjoy listening to classical music as well. So, anyone who likes classical music or classical dancing, high five to all of you virtually. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience with Firebase. So, 4.5 years ago, I attended an event or a hackathon with Firebase, which was in Pune, that's my hometown. And honestly speaking, I was very, very new to tech that time. I was afraid if I'll be able to use this tech stack at all because I was new to programming. And there was a Firebase team who had come around to judge this hackathon. And I was there because I was an organizer for GDG and Women Techmakers Pune. Now, what stuck my mind was if everybody is going to get busy writing code, what am I supposed to do? And that's how I just joined a team in the same hotel where the event was going on. and I started using Firebase a little by little. Trust me, it was so easy to use, even if I was naive in programming. The confidence that I got was immense, and eventually, my team ended up winning the first prize as well. So, this event was really close to my heart and really broke that imposter syndrome on top of my mind. I've also added a picture from those from those offline events, which I miss the most, and me programming some time back. Okay, so this is too much about myself, and let's get started talking about Firebase. So, how many of you have heard about Firebase? How many of you have tried Firebase? Can you comment it in the comment section? Anyone who's tried Firebase before? Hi, Mohammed. Hi. Have you tried Firebase before? Mohammed says Firebase is more flexible to adapt. We are just moving our mobile app developments to Firebase platform. Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, and nice to know your experience was good. Ever since this pandemic has started, apps have played a vital role in the way we communicate, the way we get information around different things, and the way we usually connect with people and things like that. So apps have played a vital role, and what we want you to do is focus on new features that can help solving for problems in a better way than focusing on building an infrastructure, managing that, building a UI for that infrastructure, which usually takes time. So, what Firebase wants you to do is focus on just building the app features, and the rest can be taken care by Firebase. So, that's just a small thing about Firebase, and it has a lot of features, right? From database management to hosting to dynamic links to app authentication, storage, a lot of features and services that Firebase offers that helps you build and run successful applications. And this tech stack is no new now. Like Mohammed mentioned, it came early in 2016, and now more than 3 million customers are actively using Firebase, which includes Twitter, Lyft, and other enterprises like them. So it has been widely adopted in the industry. A lot of soft startups as well as enterprises have started using Firebase in their solutions. So, amongst the multiple things that Firebase has to offer you, one is accelerating your app development by providing multiple extensions, multiple solutions, and features that can make your app development a little faster. It can also help you release app bundles and monitor your app's performance. And just in case something goes wrong, it comes to your attention immediately so you can take immediate actions. And then it also helps you in engagements by basically helping you sharing the links with multiple users and driving interactions, engagements, getting analytics out of the engagements made, and so on. So, a lot of features and services that Firebase offers, and it can be integrated with multiple tech stacks. So, maybe you're working with something like you're building a game with Unity on front end, or maybe you're building a website or a mobile app using Android or iOS. All of these can be integrated with Firebase. And there's more that I'm going to talk to you about. Okay, so the first point that I mentioned, accelerating your app development by using the new building blocks. So what exactly happens over here is Firebase provides you an emulator kind of setup, which can be used to basically test your applications in a test environment. So when you want to launch new features, you don't want to release it publicly. First, you want to try it on the emulated version to make sure the app is performing well on different screen sizes, with different types of data coming in and things like that. So for that, there is an emulator service which Firebase provides. And this time, right after app authentication emulator, they have also released storage emulator. So the emulator suite lets you run emulated versions of backend products on your own local machine. Uh, and it enables rapid iteration without interfering with production data or incurring any costs. So when you're running these tests, you don't have to run it on production, so that it doesn't go live with all the audiences who are using your application, but on a limited setup you can run this locally on your machine, and there's no cost associated with it. So just like I mentioned, a few months ago they released support for Firebase authentication, and now they have announced cloud storage for Firebase, also joining the emulator suite. So it gives a broader coverage of backend products. And what exactly happens with storage emulator is you can upload, download, and modify your data without any interference in the production data. And it also interacts seamlessly with other emulators, so you can trigger cloud functions for Firebase and protect access to your files with Firebase authentication, and all while developing and testing your applications locally on your desktop machine. So you can either use command line interface or the Firebase UI to use these type of services. But yeah, it's pretty interesting because you can also integrate with other emulator services, which you can see on the screen right now. And it's a pretty seamless experience. You can do it on your local machine, so you don't have to buy a separate virtual machine or hire some space to run this setup. Second update that came in from Firebase team this year at Google I/O was Firebase app distribution now supports Android app bundles for streamlined testing. So when you release an app on the Play Store, you release app bundles, right? I'm not sure how many of you have your own apps live on Play Store, or your company apps live on Play Store, and have experience basically launching your applications on the store. Any one of you? Okay, no worries. But yeah, so these app bundles will help you release your applications on the Play Store or on the App Store. And the Firebase app distribution features makes it easy to distribute pre-release versions of your app to trusted users. So basically, when you want to release the exact file on the Play Store, before releasing that, if you want to double check if things are okay and you don't want to release it to all your users, you can try it with a limited set of users, and you can release this app bundle by triggering either some functions through the terminal, that is command line, or you can use the existing UI which is there to trigger or send these APK files to a set of users or testers with whom you would like to test the app bundle. And this is really important because soon what they're going to do is use this same app bundle to be directly released and launched on Play Store. So they want to bring in that intersection between your APK files, which can be uploaded and used on Firebase, to be triggered directly for testing amongst limited set of users, and then triggered directly on the Play Store. And there's already a workflow that they are trying to build on Firebase for this type of services. Okay, I'm going to tell you more, but so far I hope you're enjoying. Any questions that I might take in between? Any thoughts? Okay, I see one question around here. Please discuss all Firebase products in depth for new developer. Dave Kamal, I'll be happy to do that, but as of now, there are a lot of services that are there. And in interest of time, I may not be able to cover all of them, but I'm happy to talk to you about a few services like real-time database, NoSQL, Firestore database services. Then there are serverless apps that you can build on Firebase. You can host your websites using Firebase. You can send messages using Firebase to all your users. If you want to trigger some updates or notifications, you can send push notifications using Firebase. You can create dynamic links that can be shared with your existing users to promote your app and create a reward system based on that. So there are a bunch of features that are there. So I might not be able to cover all of them, but I hope this gave you a little bit of understanding of what Firebase does. And if you have, or if you want to explore more, uh, you can go to the Firebase website where you will get more information around these features, and then you can see which one you exactly want to try. Any more questions? Please, next Flutter. Uh, yeah, so there are a lot of Flutter packages which provide support to Firebase. Um, I'm not sure which exact feature are you talking about. Maybe if you would like to clarify a little bit on that. Please share some salient security features of Firebase regarding mobile app. Yes, Mohammed, I'm going to come to it right after this. So the next section exactly speaks about security. But before that, any questions? Any other questions, I mean? Okay, if there are no other questions, I can speak and answer Mohammed's question around security for Firebase for Android applications. Um, okay, so what happens is when there is a hacker attack on your database, it usually comes from somewhere else and not your Android application or not your web application or not your iPhone application. It comes from somewhere else. It's a third party attack. And if that is the case, if that is the vulnerability which is going to which is going to make your app insecure, then there is a way to save that type of vulnerability by basically using the app check Firebase service. Now, what exactly you can do with this service is you can keep your infrastructure and users safe um, by basically using the app check feature, which is a new powerful security feature. And currently it's in beta, but soon it will go live on a production version. It helps you basically understand if the traffic is coming from your app or it is coming from somewhere else, and you can actually validate the credentials to understand if the traffic is coming from your user or it is coming from somewhere else. If it is coming from somewhere else, you can basically take immediate actions, try to move your data somewhere else or things like that. So right now, AppCheck is available for cloud storage, real-time database, and cloud functions for Firebase, and it will be expanded to other products soon. So if you want to try this, Mohammed, you can register your app with AppCheck and start enforcing protections through the Firebase console. Does that answer your question as well, Mohammed? Okay, I'll move on. If you have any questions, keep adding them, and I'm happy to take them along the way. Um, Another important thing for web developers. So, any web developers in the house? Hi. Uh, so, if you are a web developer, the most important thing that you look at is how quickly the website can be loaded. And for that, basically, you want to make sure that the pages load faster and the performance of the site is good. So if you are using a web SDK with your Firebase in your solution, then these new SDKs which are launched recently can help you reduce the app size by up to 80%, and it can help loading the pages faster by only downloading that part of the SDK which is required to run your website, and not load the entire SDK, so that the site is not heavy and the performance is faster. Okay, I will move on to the next thing, which is around extensions. So, a lot of extensions are built by the Firebase team, which helps you seamlessly integrate the APIs with your application. This really helps you to focus more on the functionality of your app rather than worrying about the infrastructure and other management related um, work. So, what exactly extensions are going to do is, so say if there is an extension which there's an API which is already available in the market, and you want to integrate it with your solution, you can do that as well with Firebase. So Firebase does not give you a ready-made code to basically integrate your extensions, but there is a possibility to integrate your solution with the extensions using the existing APIs available. So, happy to announce that the extensions that can be implemented for search on Firestore with Agolia. So, Agolia is basically an API that helps you index queries at a much faster rate. And a lot of companies like Crocodile, Byju's are using Agolia for search queries. And now it can have an integration with Firestore, so that you can index all the database which is stored on Firestore using the Agolia API. You can send personalized emails to your customers using MailChimp, and you can store the database with Firebase database, real-time database, and Firebase database services. You can communicate with the users using message boards, so sending SMSs, WhatsApps, and other things. This API is already written by message board, and you can send it directly to your app users by using the message board API. And this integration is now possible with Firebase. You can analyze, apply machine learning on user generated data using Jigsaw, and this data can be actually stored on Firestore or Firebase database services. So it gives you a lot of flexibility to integrate the existing APIs. It gives you a lot of flexibility to not run the commands all the time through command line if you're not very comfortable, and rather use the UI. So any layman can basically trigger these operations in case you're not available or your developer is not available, making your life easy. So unveiling the data for performance monitoring and revamped dashboard. So here am I to speak about the last thing around the announcements this year. And this is around the new UI for performance monitoring and the features available for that. So high performance is the key to user retention and engagement. We all agree to that. And Firebase performance monitoring gathers and presents data about your app's performance. So you exactly know what's happening in your app and when users are experiencing slowness from their point of view. And happy to share that performance monitoring is now available for processing real time data, which means you can closely watch your app's performance real time during a release or when users are actually live or if you're launching a new feature and you want to exactly test how that feature is going, all of that is possible using Firebase. And in case there's an issue, you can take actions right away. And a few months ago, Firebase launched a new redesigned customizable performance monitoring dashboard, which allowed you to bring in metrics you really care about the most on the forefront. Now, Firebase table traces if the performance is going bad, just not on the metrics you usually check, but on other metrics where you may not have your attention regularly but is not performing well. And you can see this on a single page of dashboard. So exactly when the performance does not happen well or does not occur well, you can go to the dashboard, see all of this, how each page is performing, and if you want to take any actions, change or remove any code, that all can be possible with analysis on this Firebase dashboard. Okay, that's all from my side. I hope you enjoyed the session. I hope you enjoyed the updates this year by Firebase. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to drop them in the chat section, and I'm happy to answer those. Yes, thanks a lot, Mohammed.
All right. Thank you, Nikita. This was such a cool session. I actually learned stuff. Like, yeah, I'm not a Firebase person, but yeah, I understood some of it and hopefully can go back to implementing it. I remember back in university, we built an application that used Firestore with Android. And the only reason we used it was because it was so easy to use in comparison to MySQL. We were like, no one's going to implement this. Firestore was like just like quick, done and done. And yeah, I really liked it. One question that we had from the audience is, why is Firebase more preferable for small scale projects and not enterprise solutions? Do you want to answer that?
Yes. So this question is interesting because I have seen a lot of enterprises as well using Firebase. Just like I mentioned in the start, Lyft, Twitter, who are like enterprise solutions or enterprise applications, they are using Firebase themselves for their production level applications. Um, Firebase has made a great progress from where it started. At the start, not many enterprises were using it. One was the scalability factor, and second was trust factor. But now it's pretty much robust and trustworthy. So, in case you want to convince your company to start with Firebase, it's not going to be a huge risk.
Alrighty, thank you for answering that. Thank you, Nikita, for being our speaker today. I know it was super last minute that we were able to find you. I'm actually surprised that there aren't enough women in Firebase right now. Like, it was very difficult to find someone, yeah, working in this space. So yeah, seeing you as an example, I hope more women will come forward and this technology will grow within our community even more. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day, Nikita. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye. Alrighty. Before we start with our next session, I think we have 4 minutes. Some of you were asking for like the latest updates in Firebase. So I went online and looked for a video that's basically all of the updates that happened in July of 2021. So I'm just going to share that with you because it might be a kind of video that you don't find on your own. So yeah, I'm just going to share that. And here, oops.
Welcome to Firebase Release Notes for July, where we'll look at updates from the past month. And we have some very interesting releases to cover today, so let's dig in right away. If you've used Cloud Functions in the past, you've probably noticed that it creates temporary files for its container images in your project's cloud storage buckets. Well, these then show up in your usage graph and typically also as small charges on your project bill each month. Since its 9.14 release, the Firebase CLI now cleans up these temporary files at the end of each deployment that you run. This means that you should no longer see these files, and maybe more importantly, you should no longer see new charges to your project once you upgrade. To get this and many more improvements, upgrade to the latest version of the Firebase CLI with the link that I provided below. By using Firestore's data bundles, you can seed the local cache of your application right when the app first runs, even when it's offline. Data bundles also allow you to reduce the number of documents that each device reads from the server by providing data as bundled updates. Well, since version 8.1 for SDKs for C++ and Unity, you can load data from bundles into your Firestore's local cache of your game, so that will be used by calls on that client. You can also get results for named queries through the new getNamedQuery async method. To learn more about Firestore data bundles and how to load them into your games, check the links that I provided below. Firestore App Check reduces abuse of your Firebase real-time database, cloud storage, and cloud functions by ensuring that only calls that come from your own app are allowed. But did you know that you can also use App Check to protect your own backend services? Well, to do so, you will need to modify your app client to send an app check token along with each request to your backend. And then you modify your backend code to validate that app check token. We've just added new methods to our primary SDKs to get the app check token and to monitor when this token changes. To learn how to implement app check to protect your own backend resources, read the documentation that are linked below. And speaking of app check, fast following the announcement at Apple's WWDC event, Firebase now also supports App-Attest for iOS apps. App-Attest verifies that a request comes from a legitimate instance of your app by satisfying these 3 requirements. The request must come from a genuine Apple device, and it must be running your genuine application, and the payload must not have been tampered with. App-Attest can be used for App Check on iOS in addition to Device Check, which we already supported, and which you might still want to use to support other iOS versions. So see the documentation below to find out what best meets your needs and how to implement it. Writing security rules is hard, but the earlier you start, the easier it is. In the latest emulator suite, you can get started on your rules easier than ever, right from the moment you write your first line of code. The Firestore Emulator UI now has a new Requests tab that shows you all the requests that your apps make to the local Firestore emulator in real time. From this user interface, you can then drill down to the details of each request, such as the method, the path, and of course, the security rules evaluation. This makes it much easier to see how your security rules are affecting your app's behavior, and to keep the code and the rules aligned during development. So, upgrade to the latest version of the Firebase tools with the link I provided below, and look for an upcoming blog post that explains even more of what you can do with this powerful new feature. Those were all the updates we have time for today. If you like them, give this video a like or subscribe to the channel below. My name is Frank or Puff, and I'll see you on a future episode of Firebase Release Notes.
Alrighty, so I hope you enjoyed the July 2021 updates. It's funny when I say enjoyed, I know we're developers, but I mean, I still enjoy any updates that I get from TensorFlow or libraries that I follow. So hopefully if you're a database developer, you do like and enjoy the updates or sessions that you find on your favorite technology. All right, so our next session is on growth mindset that is presented by Madiha Khan Yousafzai. She has like such a long and very detailed and descriptive introduction that I'd rather be hear about it from her. So without further ado, I'm going to add her to the stream. Hi, Madiha. How are you doing?
Hello, Ramsha. I'm doing well, and I'm so excited to be here and to connect with all the audience.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here. Okay, first off, we need to understand your introduction and bio. So please be as detailed or tell us all about yourself because we're very interested to know more about you.
Sure. Thank you so much. I'm grateful to hear your compliments. So all right, everyone, this is Madiha Khan Yousafzai. I happen to be a project manager. And since I'm working into this domain for last 10 years, I have also developed my experience and expertise towards becoming a coach. Because for me, first, it starts from my passion, which is people empowerment. So everything which I do, it is around people empowerment. And through people empowerment, we can empower the organizations. So that's why when it comes to project management, it also involves to connect with people, which I love. And that is why, on one hand, I'm a project manager, I'm a mentor and trainer into it. I also happen to be a speaker in this domain. In addition to that, I am neuro-linguistic programming coach, which is NLP, we call it. And it is different than what is Ramsha's domain, which is natural language processing. Right, Ramsha? So this is a disclaimer for all our audience as well. Yes. So mindset coaching is basically everything that we can understand. How does our brain work? How we can evolve our habits? How we can change it? And it's about understanding our patterns and behaviors. And this is like a package. When I'm working as a project manager, it also involves a lot of soft skills and behavioral skills. So this is what I learn and I share it with others. Hope it helps, Ramsha.
Yep. Yeah, it really does help. You have such an amazing bio, and yeah, we're super impressed by you. Slightly intimidated, but yeah, very impressed mostly. Without further ado, I am going to add you. Let you present your session. Just going to add it to the stream, and yeah. Oh wait, I think you haven't shared your screen anymore. Once you share it, I will add it to the video.
I'm sharing it now.
Alrighty.
If you give me a moment.
No problem. Yep, here it is. All right, thank you, Madiha. You can take it over.
All right, thank you. So I hope you can see it in the presentation mode.
Yes.
Okay, hello everyone, and thank you for being here. I am Madiha Khan, and first of all, I would like to welcome you all on this event by Google I/O Extended. Thanks to GDG and GDG Lahore as well. So my topic is growth mindset, and this topic is very close to my heart and very close to my passion, as we just spoke about it. Initially, maybe it will sound to you that growth mindset can be very technical, but once I'm going to walk you through these details, so then you will understand that how relatable it is with our daily life, and it is very simple once we have the interest to understand it. Overall, I happen to have more than 12 to 13 years work experience, and I have been working globally. I'm based in Lahore, Pakistan, and I am blessed to having the opportunities to work with Europe and also with US. And I also happen to do a lot of volunteer work and community work towards empowering people, because it is my passion that you all are empowered to create a life and career which you love and you deserve, and you also happen to live your passion. Well, I would like to know my audience here, and if you want, you can share it into the comments. So maybe some of you will be students, some of you will be freelancers, some of you are having your own business, or you are entrepreneur, or maybe you are employed in some company. And also, when it comes to personalities, some people will be introvert here, some people will be extrovert. And then it's all right that if you are introvert or extrovert, there are so many myths about it. And then we are going to see that how mindset relates with it. And also, if you want, you can share into the comment section that from which region or city or country you have joined us now. So I will be moving forward with my talk, and the topics, the main highlights which we are going to discuss into it when we are talking about mindset. So mindset is divided into two, let's say, categories. One is growth mindset, and other is fixed mindset. We are going to see what are these types. And then there are certain concepts which relate to growth mindset. If you would have heard that fail fast and learn fast and then adapt to it, we are going to talk about it. And yes, fail fast like, when we say that it is about the failure, then it is not the failure. It is just that a lesson learned, that you try to do something, and if it didn't work, that means you learned it, that this is not the way it is going to work, but let's find out the other way that this is going to work then. Since I'm going to talk about growth mindset, this is everything which is related with our internal self, our inner talk. And also, once we are having this strong inner personality, only then we can, let's say, embrace the changes outside in the outer world. I'm also going to talk about that, how what is the combination when you want to work into certain domains. So the knowledge counts, the training into that domain also counts, and in addition to that, experience and exposure counts as well. So my goals for today from this session is, which is like, goals for all of us, that we can understand what is growth mindset, what is fixed mindset. And then I'm going to share this one of my favorite concept, that what is the power of yet. I am going to walk it through to all of you. Later, we will see that how we can foster a growth mindset into an organization, and also to see that why it is important to have a growth mindset if we want to achieve agility. I understand that most of the audience here belong to the tech world, and this is what my talk is going to cater as well, that in world of technology, when changes are happening at very rapid pace, how we can adapt to those changes. And to understand that what are the characteristics of growth mindset, what does it do, and how we can find out that what mindset we are having. And here, one disclaimer I would like to add, that it's all right if some people are going to have growth mindset and some people are having fixed mindset, because there are certain domains in your life, there are certain perspectives where you will be having fixed mindset, and then for some domains you will be having the aptitude of having a growth mindset. And also, if someone is having fixed mindset and they are up to make changes, then they can also foster growth mindset. When it comes to talking about mindset talk, for me, it is never complete without mentioning Dr. Carol Dweck. She is the psychology professor in Stanford University, and she has done extensive research, I think, for a number of decades about this, and she's still sharing a lot of information about this. So for me, this is important, that when we are talking about mindset, this is backed by the research into it, and let's say the work which other people have done, which is proven by science as well, and which is supported by science. And thanks to Dr. Carol Dweck, who introduced this concept of power of yet, which I will be walking you through. Okay, so I am going to do one activity with all of you. And in this, you can see there are two statements here. So one is that you are facing some situation, and let's assume this is some problem. And then someone tells you, or you are telling it to yourself, that no, I cannot solve this problem. So that can be one situation. And then there is other statement which says that no, I cannot solve this problem yet. Do you feel, is there any difference? Do you think, is there any difference between both of these statements? And what does it imply? What is your, let's say, projection about these statements? I will be happy if you are sharing it into the comment section. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Yes, Ramsha, please.
Go ahead. I would say that the better response is probably, no, I can't solve this yet, than the other one. Yeah. But mostly, if it's me answering personally, then I would probably answer the first one, just to just to get it out of my system. But yeah, go ahead.
All right, sure. What about our audience? Would they like to give any input into this? The statements which I shared, what do you think? That I cannot solve a problem and that's all? Or you relate with the situations where you say to yourself, I cannot solve this as of yet. And then you also try to do it again in the same way or other way. It depends that what do you want to explore out of it and how eager you are to solve this situation. Okay, thank you, Wes. I see your input. Okay, so I will be moving back to these screens, and then I will share this moment of truth and science, that which statement refers to which mindset. And as I have already shared, that it's all right which mindset you are having. Okay, so coming back to this, that there is one situation and then the other one. Okay, so here it comes. If we think and we say to ourselves that I cannot solve this problem and that's all, so that refers to fixed mindset. But if we say to ourselves, and this is what we feed to ourselves, that I cannot solve this problem as of yet. So this yet gives you this hope that I can do it later. What I need, maybe I need to learn more about this certain process, how this problem is solved. Maybe I shall come up with alternatives. So this is the power of yet, that where you believe you can improve. And this resonates with growth mindset. I would like to share one example from Dr. Carol Dweck research and extensive work. So there is it is a research which was shared earlier, many years back, and when it shares that back in 1990s, and yes, we are talking about, let's say, more than 30 years around from this time, but this is the research which was happening that time, and there was this observation made into those years that there is one school in Chicago which, when it comes to rating the students, that either you have passed the exam or you have failed, and that is what I'm talking about from class 1 to 5, and that is the initial years of a child growth and nurturing the mindset. So this school doesn't pass you or fail you simply into these two categories, or they do not define that, this student got the first position, this other student got second position and third, because then it becomes a comparison among your fellows. So it is all about that you compare yourself with your own self, who you were, let's say, 5 years back, who you were 10 years back. And if you all are going to take a moment to think about it, you will see that you have come a long way. So what this school used to do, that they used to give the gradings to a student, that either you have passed this exam or you have not passed it yet. So these three words are super important and super essential if we are going to feed it to our mind. And this is where I am using my component of NLP, neuro linguistic programming, that the words create the worlds. So every thought which we are feeding to our mind, we are going to train our brain, because if we keep if we keep repeating a pattern, and if we keep doing something, so this is what will be stored into our mind. And then our mindset is having two sides. One is conscious and other is subconscious. So here I will give you the example that what is the difference in the conscious mind and subconscious mind. So let's take the example of driving a car or riding a bicycle. So initially, when you want to learn it, you are going to take help from someone, and or maybe you are getting the classes. So initially, let's say for first month, you are using the manual, that how to ride a bike or how to drive a car. So initially you will be doing it, but after first month, second month, 3 months, or maybe for someone it is going to take 6 months or 1 year, but later, now you are not using the car manuals, now you are not using the help from some instructor, that how I can ride a bike. So why it is happening? Because you kept repeating the pattern of learning, and eventually it stores into your brain. And this is what the subconscious mind does. So maybe now you all can think that there are so many examples where we were learning something and we still remember it because we kept repeating it. This is why we say that always practice it. You all can share your input into the comment section again, that what is your moment of learning from this power of yet concept so far. So we will see what are the characteristics of a mindset which makes it a growth mindset. We have talked about that what can be like a mindset into dividing as fixed mindset and growth mindset. So the fixed mindset doesn't think that we can grow further or we can learn some skill. It also says, as per the research, that the fixed mindset people think that we are born with certain intelligence, certain skill set, and that is all. We cannot learn it further. But growth mindset thinks and believe into cultivating that intelligence to the next level, to learn skills and to take them at the next level. And also, this mindset thinks that we can always evolve and grow into having a growth mindset at the further level. And again, if you think that what you have done so far in your life and how far you have come, that shows that you were having the growth mindset. Maybe you were not aware of it in certain components of your life. So one of the key characteristics of growth mindset is that we are ready to embrace the change. The people who are having growth mindset, they are willing to go for the changes, and they always look for it, because change is the only constant, especially into the tech sector. Again, if we talk about it, and if we talk about 21st century, so many things have been changing at the very fast level. And this COVID situation has taught us in one way or other that how important it is to embrace the changes. Though these changes were coming from, let's say, it was a forceful change that where we were supposed to adapt. And then it was a challenge which we all were embracing. So if we talk about the situation other than COVID in normal life, so growth mindset is ready to thrive on the changes and challenges because they feel good, because they see the growth into it, they see learning. And for them, failures is not something demotivating. Failures is not the disappointment only, but they see that, all right, this is how the things are not going to work. So let's try it other way. And they see the mistakes as opportunity to improve, learn, and grow. The opportunity that, all right, I'm having a certain ability, but I need to improve on it, and I choose to improve on it. And why I want to do it? Because I'm having certain goals which I want to achieve. And in order to achieve those goals, they can be your career related goals, they can be your organization related goals. And also, growth mindset is applicable because it is part of your personality. So if you are having a growth mindset at your personal life, you are also employing it and using it into your workspace also. So far we have talked about that, why we shall have the growth mindset, what are the characteristics, and then we will see what are the reasons why we shall have it. So maybe many of you are entrepreneurs and some of you love this innovation concept, and you always look for improving the processes, improving the products, or to come up with the new products. So many of you will be very creative, and this is a sign that you are having a growth mindset. Because when you are having this sense of creativity and you are going to, let's say, work on something, so this is where you will come with the improvements. And when you know that, all right, we are having the growth mindset, it enables us to be creative. It also enables you to be innovative. And innovation is not necessary to just come up with some new product or some thinking about, like, going out of the box, but you can still do so many things. And you can always improve something which is already existing, but people wouldn't have thought that this is how it can be innovative as well. So once you are creative and you are innovative, so you will keep trying different things. And as the growth mindset people do not see the failure just as the failure and then quit or leave that thing, but they look for the new ways. So that gives you this ability of being resilient. And in this year, from last, since COVID-19, if we talk about, so being resilient has become essential for all of us. That how, because for so many people, they face so many challenges. Some people had to be out of their job, some people's business had to close down, and then they thought of the new ways. There were so many companies who came up with the new ideas that how they can still keep running their plants and factories. So let's say I know one company in Australia, and who was like part of event management, but when COVID happened, so of course they couldn't do further events, but they were having the people, they were having rest of the resources, and they were having the time to do something new. So what they came up with, they came up with the uh, furniture which they can be used into house and work from home, because they were having certain resources that way. When they are doing the event management, they set up the stage, they come up and they build so many different things. So this is how they thought that, all right, how we can come up with the affordable and portable furniture. And that was like, to come up with the work from home desk and the chairs and the laptop stands as well. So this is what shows, this shows that they were resilient to come up with something new and then to try again. And once you are creative, you are innovative, and you have become resilient. So now you will keep progressing further, you will keep growing. So that means you are consistent in your efforts and also persistent. And when we are having these four amazing characteristics, it will lead to for you to perform better, to perform superior. And when it comes to superior performance, that it is not to refer to any comparison with other people or other teams. It is you versus you, that you have improved your own ways of working. And that is the healthy competition, that where you want to improve every day, every time, in every activity. And once we are performing well, we all know what happens. And that is also, let's say, have been given input by many people. Again, that we feel better and we feel happy, we feel successful. And eventually, when you feel happy, so then your well being is definitely improved. So these are multiple, let's say, reasons that why we shall have growth mindset and how many benefits it offers us. Now I'm going to talk about at the organization level. So far, we have seen that at individual level, how we can foster growth mindset, what are the benefits and what are the characteristics which makes a mindset as growth mindset. And of course, organizations can only be successful when the people into it are empowered and they are also fostering the growth mindset. Because in the tech sector, it has become vital that we foster agility, we embrace agility. And what is agility? Agility is simply to adapt to the changes and to respond to the changes which are happening into the market. And there are so many examples of the companies which have done great work about how to respond to their customer demands and changes. And then there are so many examples that maybe the clients didn't think that they want something, and um, they have been offered by their companies. So if we talk about the examples, Amazon Prime has been one of them. And then what is Disney World is doing, if you see that experience, so Disney World is offering some experience to its visitors which is of no match with others. And that is what people relate, that is what all children relate, that is what all adults relate to it as well. So when it comes to fostering agility, so this is important that the company, everyone within company, from let's say management and all people at all levels, shall walk the talk. So it's not only that, okay, we are talking and the company says that, yes, we shall become agile, we shall embrace the growth mindset, we shall develop it, but it is learning by doing, it is leading and being the example for others. So only then they can also embrace it. We shall, being an organization, wherever role you are working into, you shall encourage people for their efforts, that what they are doing towards nurturing and fostering, that how they can have the growth mindset. And growth mindset comes up that we are giving them the opportunities, that how they can grow, how they can be creative into the work they are doing, and how they can be innovative. And when they are doing it, so being into the roles where, let's say, we are having this responsibility, that all right, we are empowering other people, we are empowering the departments, we give them this psychological safety also, that okay, you can try something new, you can fail fast into it, and when you are failing fast, that means you are learning. But of course, when it comes to failing fast into an organization, this also involves using the company resources. This comes up with the cost, the financial cost. And then also people will be thinking that, are we going to be assessed for this or not? So this is where the companies are supposed to give the psychological safety that, okay, let's say 20% of your work, you can do the innovation into it. For rest of the 80%, this is just, I'm using one example, so that they know that, all right, there is this one dimension that where they can work into it. And if they are successful, yes, it will count towards their success. But if initially they are not successful into it, it doesn't mean that they are to be given the assessment that, okay, this is not the good work. Because here we are introducing the culture of encouraging each other to learn and grow. And so many companies have invested into certain departments and certain components, that all right, this is where the innovation is happening, this is how you can work on certain projects. And I came to know there is one company, and that is happened to be in Pakistan, which gives their they are having two teams for one project, and they give them a time, let's say 6 months, and they ask them that you both come up with the solution. So that means, of course, that company is investing into it. And the solution which comes into it, they see that, all right, two departments or the teams are working into different way. And then to see that what they come up with, because that company is having this focus, that they are fostering the creativity, they are encouraging for people to have the growth mindset. So in terms of that, in an organization, every small accomplishment is going to matter, and we shall be appreciative for the people who are doing it. Every new habit is going to count into it. And again, as I said, that practice matters. So you take the training for every new domain which you are going to work in, and then you work hard into it. You learn, you have the mentors for you, and you also have the coaches. And once you have done something good, you empower others, you connect with others, and then you also serve as a coach to them. And the focus shall be from being good to getting better, rather becoming perfect. Because perfection is a myth. We only keep getting better to the next level and again and again. And every time when we talk about like, let's say getting better, so what is getting better example? So I will use the example of Apple phones. And if you see, every year they release a model which is perfect, and which is, let's say, like, this is the best model and the features they are offering. But every year then they are coming up with like, upgraded version of it. So that means, what is the focus? That all right, every time the product is perfect in terms of its functions, but then yes, there is still room for improvement, that they are getting better. So every time they are perfect, and then they are getting better. That's why we say that being perfectionist is a myth, and this is like relative term. So moving forward, that how you can foster agility: focus on your continuous learning, focus on the progress, not perfection, which we have just talked about. And also, when you are into this a transformation towards the changes, and to build a growth mindset, then build a feedback cycle, build a feedback loop, so that you know that, all right, what are you doing? Is it the right way of doing it? And is it working? If it is not working, what can be done? So learn and adjust along this journey. And then, most important, when you are going through a change, especially when it comes to the organizational changes, so commit to the change. This is very important, because we all know that change is not easy for most of us or all of us. And yes, because when it comes to going through the change, there is some uncertainty. So everyone is going to embrace that uncertainty in a different perspective, in a different level. But at organization level, it is important that there is transparency of the information. So that people can ask questions, they can get their answer, and this uncertainty can be minimized. All right. So here I am going to stop sharing my screen and I am going to have a conversation with all of you, because it's time that we talk about that what we have learned so far about the growth mindset. So tell me that what something new you have done as of latest, and what was the new thing which you did, let's say last day, maybe today, or what did you learn something new today? Or just think that what was some new skill which you learned so far and how latest is it? Did you learn it last week? Did you learn it last month? Or last year?
Maybe I can start. Something new that I've learned recently. I started looking into this deck. It's Angular JS. It was very difficult for me because I'm not used to it. But yeah, it took some time, but I was finally able to do it. I think I was supposed to do it in 1 week, but it took me like 3 weeks just because it
Okay.
was super difficult. Yeah,
That's really fine. And
that's
I
something.
want to appreciate that. Yes, you are doing something
Uh-huh.
new. So that is
Uh-huh.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So keep learning, keep growing. And here I see Avais' question that what are the some motivations to have a growth mindset? Avais, I have walked you through. In case you are still having that question, let me know. We already talked about that enables, that how you can be creative, how you can be innovative. And then it helps you to become resilient. So, okay, the next question is, as I say that fail fast is not the fail, we learn something new. So how we can avoid the consequences of failure and how we can re-energize ourselves for next move. So Avais, into this, it's basically, yes, the fail fast is a lesson learned. So this is how what we are encouraging to ourselves and how we are feeding ourselves. So it's not about that we are going to avoid those consequences. Yes, when it comes to change, and I want to mention it here for all of our audience, that when you are taking a risk, take that risk in terms of growth, and take it like, it shall be calculative. And this is what organizations do, this is what you can do as an individual. So that when you are taking the risk, and if it's like, something which doesn't work, so you know that all right, what you were getting into it, and what are the risks out of it, and what are the consequences. So Awais, this is how you can minimize those consequences, but you cannot avoid it, because let's say if you are avoiding it, then what is the learning out of it, right? So when it comes to those challenges, it shall be something which is ecologically correct. So what is ecologically correct? Ecologically correct means whatever we are going to do, it is not harmful for our own self. It is not harmful for, let's say, our friends and family, people around us. It is not harmful for our community. It is not harmful for the society and for the planet as well. So these are the 5 levels of ecologically correct, that everything or anything which we are going to do, this is not harmful at any level for any of us. And this is what you employ into your concept of growth mindset, and embrace those failures, embrace those consequences of a failure, and see what you can do better next time. And this is how you move on. And even to energize us, because when you are already knowing it, that okay, this is a calculative risk I'm going to do, so then just see it that okay, I shall look for other way to do it. When you are going to have the perspective that things are from the growth mindset point of view, then you feel empowered about it. So I will be moving back to sharing some further content about growth mindset. And thank you all for your input so far. So if you want, you can share any situation and scenario where you think that, all right, what happens? Shall it be a growth mindset or fixed mindset, or what is the tendency you are having? I'm happy to answer it. And meanwhile, you are going to share it into the comment section. This is what we have already covered, that what is COVID teaching you? So COVID has taught us that, all right, how we can work into a remote culture, how we can embrace these changes, how we can work from home as well. Meanwhile, you people are going to share your questions and comments. I am going to share these perspectives, which are part of NLP, Neuro Linguistic Programming, that how we can change our perspective. And this is something which you can feed to yourself, that you think something is impossible, but no, you just see it is, I am possible. And again, my disclaimer is here for all of these situations and perspectives we are going to talk about. You shall be mindful that this is ecologically correct at all levels. When we say something is impossible and I want to do it, and I am going to make it impossible, then what are the risks around it? Is it ecologically correct or not? If it is not, then do not go into that domain. And this is, when I say do not go into that domain, that means, like, we are talking about overall all domains of life, like, be it personal life or be it your professional life. So something which is, let's say, impossible, you can make it impossible, then that will be great. You see it from that perspective. And when you say that, okay, I cannot do it, but then how about you say that I can do it in a different way? I shall find out other alternative to do it. And yes, just replace these words that I have to do something, I have to do this task. What if you say, I choose to do it? When you say this to yourself, that means you are feeling more empowered. And I want all of you to basically exercise it and work on it, and then you can share your feedback. That how do you feel about this? And yes, as I earlier said, that words create the worlds. This is a famous quote by Judith Glaser, and it makes me, like, giving the feeling of being empowered. So when you are working and you are giving someone feedback and you say that, okay, this is bad, right? This is a bad outcome. What if you say that this is not a good outcome and let's try again? So that is giving you, again, the empowerment and sense of belonging. So it is about rephrasing those words. We are not going to say that something is negative. We will say something is not positive. And how about we see, like, the problems as opportunities to solve them, and rather being problem oriented, we shall foster the mindset of becoming solution oriented. We shall not react to the situations, we shall respond to the situations. And as we were talking about power of yet, so rather thinking and giving up by saying I cannot do it at all, or I cannot do it ever, how about we say that I cannot do it as of yet? So I'm moving towards closing of my session. And if you want, you can share again into the comment sections that what are the key takeaway, what do you want to do different, what you have learned from this session. And even it is one thing, you can write it now, so that when you go from the session, it stays with you, that this is what I want to do, this is what I have chosen from the session, that I will do it differently, and this is what I have learned. I'm going to close this talk on my favorite quote, and let's say my favorite personality. She is my inspiration. There are so many people who are my inspiration, and I want to use this example because it relates with the topic of growth mindset. And this is about Sarah Blakely. She is the founder, and she is the founder of a $1 billion company, which she made and how she started. So you can always look for her journey. This is definitely inspiring, and I hope you find that inspiration for your own work also. So Sarah Blakely shares that, and she shares her story that her dad encouraged her to fail. And in her words, she says, "My dad encouraged us to fail. Growing up, he would ask us what we failed at that week. If we didn't have something, he would be disappointed. It changed my mindset at an early age that failure is not the outcome. Failure is not trying. Don't be afraid to fail because failure is a lesson learned." And this is what Sarah Blakely example is, and her journey is that she didn't know, and she tells it that she didn't know that how does, like, something works in a certain way. That's why she tried it in a different way, and it worked for her. And now her example is being shared in all over the world. I will also share this book recommendation with all of you, and that is definitely by Dr. Carol Dweck. The book name is Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. And that is what you can implement in your work and in your personal life as well. So thank you all. If you would like to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn with my name. You can search Madiha Khan Yusufzai. And already the team has already shared the links into the post earlier. If you want to email, my email ID is houseofpassion.co@gmail.com. This is relevant to one of my initiatives. So this is where you can email me. Thank you again.
All right. Thank you, Medea. I really liked your session, especially the Goat at the End by Sarah Blakely. I'll try to check out the book. It seems very big, but hopefully I got a lot to learn from your talk today, so maybe I don't have to, but I'll still check it out. Thank you so much. One question that's not in the comments, but is on the YouTube channel is...
Sure, please.
Wait, 1 second. Shoot, I closed it. 1 second.
And I would like to thank Aves for his engagement and all the questions and the comments. Thank you, Aves. I also learned from you. Yeah. Yes, Ramsha.
The comment says, what are your thoughts about procrastinating about your work while you're at home and you see different chores around you?
Okay. So in terms of that, yes, when it comes to working from home, it has been a challenge. And let me tell you, even I was having this challenge. Initially, my first 3 months were fine. And then I start feeling, and this was this, let's say, subconscious change, which we were, even if I say I was comfortable, but eventually my routine and my mind was not comfortable with it. And then start telling me. So if we are, let's say, mindful that what does our mind tells us, or what does our body is telling us, so then we know that, all right, what is happening. So yes, sometimes procrastination can happen, but in terms of that, what you can do, some days maybe you will not be feeling connected, or maybe it's about that you shall be mindful for your mental health and physical health, and then embrace it. So whenever you are going through some changes, embrace it. So you just think that, all right, why you are having procrastination, why, like, there are other works you are having the focus on, or you are being distracted by. So maybe for some people, let's say for me, like, and I know so many of my clients that they are very organized. So if their room is not organized, they will not be focusing on their work. So once they know it, all right, make your habit to organize your room. You do all your rest of the work if you want to do it, but make a timetable, please. And also, when you are making this timetable and time schedule for it, you also see that, okay, what time you want to take a break, and all those shall be linked with your main goals. You shall always think that why you have started it. So let's say if I want to write a book, I want to write a code, and I'm not doing it, I shall think, and this is the question I shall ask myself, that what is holding me back? Is it laziness? Why I'm not living up to my goal? And okay, if I want to take a break, sometimes you can be spontaneous, take a break. And if you just want to, let's say, watch movies, or you want to do some activity like swimming, you want to, like, some indoor activity which you can do during, like, being indoor, you want to play some, like, video game, or you want to play any let's say, like, this physical activity, a cricket you want to play in your house. It depends what activities you can do into your house. And yes, so that is what you do. You take that break and then you come back. And I want to share some, let's say, further practices which you can do to be mindful about your work and your goals. That write, take out the sticky notes, write down your goals on it, and then paste it on your laptop, on your device, on, like, some side which you can see also, which you can see regularly. You can put it on your mirror, and maybe you can put it, like, on your fridge magnets as well. So anything which you are comfortable with, and it can be, let's say, any avenue which you use regularly. If you are using mirror regularly, you can do it, which I have told you. It can be your closet, it can be on the doors, like, your walking door which you daily see in your house. Or if someone is working from office, this is what you can do also. So what it is going to help it, this is part of NLP, in terms of that whatsoever we are feeding to our mind, and let's say something which we are seeing every day, so that is going to become part of your subconscious. And why I'm saying, okay, like, when it comes to the word of using timetable, I will rephrase it with a time schedule, because I think timetable is a memory of for all of us from our childhood. And some of us might not be, like, feeling way empowered from this. So I can say time schedule, and why time schedule is necessary. And yes, if you want, all of you, you can do this activity. Take a paper and pen or a pencil, but you shall write it manually. You shall, like, prefer to write it manually rather than typing it on a digital device, be it laptop or mobile devices. Because as per neuroscience, when we are writing something from our hand, this is going to store into our memory. So, and if you want to learn something, you do it one time, two times, or three times, you just do it. And when you are writing the time schedule, you will see that, okay, you are dedicating, let's say, certain hours for rest and sleep, certain hours for work. And then you see that, all right, in rest of the hours, what you can do. So, and when I say that, okay, I want to write a book, so I will say that I am going to dedicate 1 hour daily. Now, this is not a finite statement. If I say every day I'm going to write one chapter or one page for my book at 8 p.m. So you just, like, write it once or twice or thrice, like, every week you can do this activity if you want to store it into your mind. But let's say I want to give you this exercise as a challenge, because I'm confident about it, that you just write it once today, and next day or the next day, your mind will give you the reminder at 8 p.m. that, oh, I wrote it 2 days back, that I shall write the chapter, like, at least one page. And this is how you can, like, do your activities. And this is why making a time schedule will be very healthy and empowerment, like, empowerful way for you, because
That's such a great
this is the magic
answer.
of our human mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a great answer. It's very detailed. Like, yeah, make a time schedule, and hopefully you won't procrastinate anymore. Sometimes I think it's okay to procrastinate because maybe you're letting
Yes.
off steam. But if you're doing it regularly, then yeah, you're just being lazy, and yeah, do something about it.
Yes, that's
Thank
the
you,
thing. So
Madiha.
sometimes, yeah, we just need to embrace the changes, and to take a break is
Exactly.
essential. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you, Vidya. This was such a great session. There was a lot of audience during your session, which I was surprised to see because they weren't commenting. But hopefully, maybe they can comment after the session. Like, you can still pretend that it's live and, yeah, engage while you're watching this afterwards. Once again, I want to thank Madiha for this awesome session. I hope whoever was watching was really able to grab things and, yeah, maybe work on their self improvement later on. All right. With this, we'd like to say goodbye to Madiha. Bye, Madiha. Have a great rest of your Sunday. It's just almost
Thank you,
over, but like,
Ramsha.
yeah.
Yes. And if
Yep.
anyone is having any questions on YouTube or Facebook, you can share with me or write it on the YouTube comment section, and I will respond to it. Thank you.
Yep, sounds
Bye.
good. Thank you, Vidya. Bye. Alrighty. And lastly, well, we can pretty much close this live stream, but there was one comment in our streams, and it was about Firebase and how you can start off with Flutter and connect Flutter applications with Firebase. So for that, I found one tutorial video that's like an introduction of integrating Flutter with Firebase, which I think if you look on your own, you may have trouble finding. And well, this is a live stream, which is kind of like a YouTube video playing. So I'm going to share that video, and yeah, you can watch it. Hopefully, this helps you with learning the thing that you want to learn. All right.
Interested in adding the power of Firebase to your Flutter apps? Well, you've come to the right place. Let's find out how on this episode of Firecast. So I'm going to assume that you already have a Flutter app that is up and running that you want to work with. Now, for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to use the basic counter app that you get by default when you create a new Flutter project, but you can follow along with just about any Flutter app that you've already got built. The process should be the same. Now, there are 4 steps to getting the Firebase platform up and running. Number 1, creating a project in the Firebase console and adding our Flutter apps to that project. Number 2, downloading a few constants files and adding them to your Flutter project. Number 3, installing the SDKs. And then number 4, initializing the Firebase platform in your code. Now, by the way, if you are a seasoned Android developer, you might be used to using the Android Studio Firebase Assistant to get Firebase running in your app. Now, we're not going to be doing that here. It's going to be a little more manual, but not to worry. Just follow along with me and we'll get this built together. So the first thing I'm going to do is head on over to the console at firebase.google.com/console to create a new Firebase project. Now, when you first visit the Firebase console, you'll see a few options here for what to do next. Depending on your situation, you might see a list of existing Firebase projects, or you might just have an Add Project button. Now, I'm going to go ahead and click that because I want to create a new project. And before we go any further, let me take a moment to explain the difference between projects and apps. So a project can contain one or more platform-specific apps. Now, all apps in the same project use the same Cloud Firestore, real-time database, and auth backends, and you can view combined analytics data across all apps in the same project. You can also use features like Firebase Cloud Messaging or in-app messaging to talk to all of your apps at once. You don't have to, but you can, which is sometimes convenient. So in general, if you have different versions of the same app running on different platforms, such as Android and iOS, you'll want to add each of those apps to the same Firebase project. On the other hand, if your apps really are different, then you should put those in different Firebase projects. And for those of you building like multi-tenant apps, we generally recommend using a separate Firebase project for each of your customers in order to keep their data nicely separated. Now, if you're building a Flutter app, you're probably doing this so that you can have the same app running on both iOS and Android. So what we're going to do is create a single Firebase project, and then we'll attach both versions of our Flutter app to it. And for now, I am just sticking to the iOS and Android versions of our app, since web support at the time of this recording is still a little experimental and subject to change, but maybe I'll add that in a future video. So I'm going to create a new project here. I can give it a name, although you'll notice I also have this drop-down box beneath the name. This gives me the option to add Firebase features onto any existing Google Cloud projects I have access to. Now, if you do this, this will keep all the capabilities of your existing Google Cloud project while adding in some of the new services needed for Firebase. So if you are working on a project that you've already set up through Google Cloud, make sure you pick that. Don't create a new Firebase project. In my case, though, I am starting a brand new project, so I'm just going to type in a new name. You can see here it's giving me a little ID string here, which will get updated as I type. This is the project ID, which is a globally unique identifier for your project across both Firebase and Google Cloud. It's not public facing, so don't worry too much if you see random characters at the end or anything. Now I'm going to click on the continue button, and now I get to choose whether or not to add Google Analytics to my project. Enabling analytics will allow me to use a number of useful features such as A/B testing, better remote config targeting, and getting crash-free user reports. If I don't enable analytics, I won't be able to use those features. It's totally optional and you can add it later, so go with whatever works for you. Personally, I'm going to keep analytics enabled. Now, if you do, you're going to need to associate this project with an analytics account. Now, an account isn't an account like a Gmail account or anything. It's really just like a folder of analytics projects, and it's mostly there for organizational purposes. Some developers like to have separate accounts for each project. Me, I like to have this default one for all of my test projects, so that's where this is going. Now I can proceed to the next step, which is actually creating the project. Firebase will think for a few moments, and then I will have a shiny new project to work with. Okay, the next step is adding both the Android and the iOS versions of my Flutter app to this project. So let's start with the Android version. I'm going to go ahead and click on the Android icon here, and I have a few fields to fill out. So first up is adding my Android package name, also known as your application ID. If you don't remember what this is, you can look it up in Android Studio by going to your Android app build.gradle file and scrolling down here to where it says application ID. And actually, while we're here, I've heard from some of our engineers that you're going to be much better off if you can set your min SDK version to 21 or later so that you don't run into a number of methods limit later on. So I'm going to do that. At the time of this recording, this will still be compatible with like 94.1% of all devices out there in the world. So I think that's a reasonable trade-off. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and grab my application ID here, and I can paste that back into the dialog box. Now, this app nickname, it's strictly internal and just a way of identifying my app in a user-friendly way in the Firebase console. So I'm going to go ahead and call it Amazing Counter Android. Finally, I'm being asked to optionally add the SHA-1 hash of my debug signing certificate so my app can kind of prove that it belongs to me. Yeah, that's an oversimplification. Go check out the docs for a real answer. Now note that this is optional. It's really only used in a few situations like Firebase Dynamic Links and Google Sign-In, so you can leave it out and provide it later in your Firebase project settings. In fact, I kind of recommend leaving this out until you need it. This is because you can't have the same combination of package name and SHA-1 hash in more than one place anywhere in Firebase. And so if you or somebody else on your project team ends up registering your app in like a test project with your shared production key, and then decide you want to register it in a different project later on, you're going to have to hunt down that original project and delete the signature, and that might be kind of a hassle, particularly if a lot of folks in your company have access to that SHA-1. I've heard stories from our support people, and this happens more often than you think. So you know what? I'm not even going to touch this right now. If you do want to add that in, follow the instructions in this link here. But for now, I'm going to move on to the next step, which is to download this JSON file. I'm going to download Google Services.json by clicking this button. Do make sure it doesn't have like a 1 in parentheses after it if you're like me and download a lot of Google Services files. And then next, I'm going to drag it into my Android project. You should make sure you place it in your Android/app folder, kind of like this. Now, if we look at this file, you can see that it basically contains a bunch of constants that the Firebase SDK needs to configure itself correctly. It's got the name of my project, the cloud storage bucket I might use, some OAuth client IDs, and so on. Now, none of this is really secret, but you should really only share this file with your team. If you're making like an open source demo app to be shared publicly, you'll probably want anybody who runs their project to generate their own version of this file to hook up to their own Firebase project. Now, in my case, I'm not sharing this app publicly. This is just for me and my team, so I could check it into my personal Git repository if I had one. Okay, next, we're being told to make a few Gradle changes. In a sort of somewhat unusual move, the first change we need to make is in our project level Gradle file. So let me open this one in Android, build.gradle. And first I'm going to confirm that Google is listed in my build script repositories and in my all projects repositories, and it is. Then I'll copy this line into my dependencies section to make sure that we are using this plugin here. And by the way, all you experienced Android developers, don't confuse this with Google Play services. This Google Services plugin is really just used to parse that JSON file we added. We really only need it to initialize our app. Okay, next up, let's open up our app level Gradle file. That's this one under Android app build.gradle. And this is where I apply that Google Services plugin in my app Gradle file, which I can do by copying and pasting this line here into my file alongside all these other apply plugin lines. But you can ignore these lines here about like importing the Firebase bill of materials or the analytics library. Yes, in a normal Android project, this would also be where we would install and activate our other Firebase libraries. And the bill of materials is sort of a nice way of doing that in a version safe way. But in our Flutter app, we're going to save that for our pubspec.yaml file at a later point. By the way, the documentation also tells us that this would be a good time to run flutter pub get. Honestly, I don't think that's necessary here since we haven't changed anything in our pubspec file, but I guess it never hurts. So go ahead and run it if you really want, but I think it's probably superfluous. Okay, next we can go ahead and skip the rest of these dialogues in the Firebase console. And that's Android taken care of. All right, next up, let's get our iOS app set up too. So to get our iOS app added to this project, I'm going to click this Add App button and then select the iOS logo. Now, be careful. You might think your iOS bundle ID is the same as your Android application ID, but it often isn't. iOS likes to use camel case while Android prefers underscores. So let's be safe and open up our generated iOS project in Xcode and find out for sure. So from Android Studio, I'm going to select Tools, and then Flutter, and then Open iOS Module in Xcode. I'll wait a moment. And now that I'm here, let me look at my runner project, and I'll select the runner target. And here we can find my bundle identifier. Okay, so let me copy and paste this bundle identifier into my dialog here. For app nickname, again, just pick anything vaguely user-friendly. I'll probably stick with Amazing Counter iOS here. Okay, next up, they're asking for your App Store ID. Now, if you were to use dynamic links, this would be used to send users to the correct App Store page if a user clicks on a dynamic link and doesn't have your app installed. It's optional, and you can totally add it in later if you don't have an App Store ID at the moment. In my case, I don't have an App Store ID for my Amazing Counter app, so I'm just going to leave this blank. So I will click Register App. And now I can download the Google Service Info plist file. Now again, watch that the file that gets downloaded doesn't have a number in parentheses after it. This does tend to happen more often in the iOS world. And if it does, just do a little file renaming to make sure it's just called Google Service Info.plist. Okay, next we're going to drag this file into Xcode. Yes, really Xcode, not Android Studio. I think you can put it anywhere in your project, but the docs recommend sticking it inside your runner folder like this. Now make sure copy items if needed is checked, and then go ahead and click OK. And then you can ignore the rest of the setup wizard in the Firebase console. Like, don't worry about adding new CocoaPods or anything. The Flutter build tools will take care of that for you later. Okay, we are done with the Firebase console for now, and even better, done with all of our platform-specific work. So you can close Xcode and all those Android Gradle files. Let's move on to the next step, and that's installing the libraries. Now, honestly, this step is pretty straightforward if you've installed any Flutter packages before. Just remember that to keep your app nice and thin, you should really only install the libraries for features that you need. In fact, you'll probably notice that there is no all-encompassing Firebase package that installs everything for you. You're going to need to install each individual feature separately. But that's fine. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to head on over to the firebase.flutter.dev site. And here you can find a full list of these packages, what platforms they support, links to source code, along with their entries on pub.dev, which is kind of nice. Now, it's important to point out that this one here, Firebase Core, is the basic library that you're going to need to install no matter what else you're using. This is the library that does all the initialization and setup work for you. So if you don't have this, nothing else will work. So we're going to install that one first. Now, these are basically installed the way any other Flutter package is. You can jump on over to the page on pub.dev, head over to the installing section, and copy and paste this line into your pubspec.yaml file in Flutter down here in the dependencies section. And, as always, make sure those spaces line up. You only want 2 here. So we're done installing Firebase Core, but since I guess I want to see our app actually do something, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to install, say, the real-time database. So I'll go back to that firebase.flutter.dev page, and I'll do the same thing here. Obviously, these version numbers may look different than when you're doing this. Just go ahead with whatever version is listed on the site. And once you do all this, you'll want to do a Flutter pub get. So yes, Android Studio, thanks for the suggestion. Let's run that. Okay, so if we were to run this now, our app should still be in a good working state, but it won't look or behave any different than before since we haven't actually done anything with a Firebase library yet. So let's do that next. Now, as a general rule, you'll want to initialize the Firebase library before you do anything else in your app. That makes sure Firebase is ready to do things like process session start events and analytics, process incoming dynamic links, or sign your user in. So in our main.dart file, before we even call run app, I'm going to call await firebase.initializeApp. And let's also import Firebase Core so that we don't get an error. This await call basically tells Flutter to not go ahead and start our app until we're done initializing Firebase, which should happen very quickly. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised it's even an asynchronous method here, but I guess we need to do that since we're calling out to native processes. But because this is an await call, Flutter is going to complain that we're putting it inside a function that's not marked asynchronous. So I can just Alt-Enter and select Add Async Modifier, and Android Studio fixes this up nicely for me. So let's do a full restart here. I often like doing that if I'm messing with main. And you can see that I'm now getting this weird exception around how services binding.default binary messenger was accessed before the binding was initialized. So I don't entirely know what's happening here, but I'm guessing somewhere in the Firebase initialization code, it's trying to access this default binary messenger object, which itself hasn't quite finished initializing yet, and so we're running into some kind of race condition. Luckily, the error message tells us exactly how to fix it, which is to explicitly call widgetsFlutterBinding.ensureInitialized first. So that's easy enough. We'll copy and paste it into here, restart my app again, and it works. And this is nice, but I'm not a big fan of this blocking await call right here. While Firebase generally initializes quickly, I don't like having your app do nothing while we're waiting for an asynchronous call. So I think the best thing to do here is to use a future builder. As you may know, a future is basically a placeholder for an asynchronous operation that will complete sometime in the future. It's kind of like an async task in Android land or a promise in JavaScript. And you can check out Andrew's video in the link below for more info. And a future builder is, to oversimplify a little bit, a widget that builds another widget once a future has completed. It also conveniently lets you create an intermediary widget, like say a loading screen, while you're waiting for this future to resolve. So let's do that here. I'm going to remove this initialize call here. And down here in my app, I'll set up final Firebase app _ FB app equal to Firebase initialize app, and I'll remove the await call. Android Studio will complain that FB app should be a future that resolves to Firebase app, so we can fix that here. And then what I'll do down here in my build call is to keep this material app, but for my home widget, I'm going to use a future builder. So for the future property here, I will specify FB app. This is telling the future builder what future I want to be monitoring. And then for my builder, well, this is the callback that gets called initially, but then also gets called when there's a change in the state of my future, either when there's an error or it's been completed. So what I can do here is check and see. If there's an error, well, let's print out the error to the console and I will return a very basic error screen. You'll probably want to do something a little nicer than this, but you get the idea. Otherwise, we'll check and see if our snapshot has data is true. If it is, well, that probably means that the future has been resolved properly and Firebase has been properly initialized. So I'm going to go ahead and return the original My Homepage widget. And then otherwise, I will return a very basic loading indicator. Okay, there. Now I feel like we have a properly initialized app. So let's run this and, well, my app is running, but it still looks the same as before. How can we tell that we have Firebase actually working properly? Well, if we were to look in the logcat while running the Android version of our app and filter for the word Firebase, you should hopefully see this line here about how Firebase app initialization was successful. And so at this point, you are pretty much ready to go. But if you want to see something a little more exciting than a line of debug text in your console, I'm going to do some quick hacking in the next 60 seconds to get some basic real-time database functionality working. Remember, I already went ahead and added the real-time database in my pubspec.yaml file earlier. So let's see, here's what we're going to do. In my increment counter method, before we call setState, let's create a database reference by saying that database reference _ testref equals Firebase database.instance.reference to get a reference to our real-time database. And then we'll call child to hit a child node that we will call, say, test. And then let's just set that to a value of hello world followed by a random number. I'm going to just confirm that dart.math and the real-time database libraries were imported, and they were, so I think that should do it. So we can hot reload, click the button, and whoops, well, we're getting some kind of permission denied error. Oh, I know, I forgot to enable the database in the Firebase project. So I'm going to head on over to the console. I will jump to the real-time database tab and say, yes, I really do want to create a database. We'll start it out in test mode, which means everybody can access our database, which is a terrible idea, but will work for now. And now when I click the button, hey, look at that. There's a value changing the database. That's very exciting. Now, again, this was super quick and dirty, and we will hopefully create a tutorial in the near future on how to properly use the real-time database in your application. But it's good to know we have Firebase working and connected to a real backend. All right. So now that you have Firebase properly set up and initialized in your code, there is lots more you can do. You can store, query, and sync data from the cloud using either the real-time database or Cloud Firestore. And I recommend checking out the database picker in our documentation if you're wondering which one is right for you. You can use Firebase Auth to easily sign in your users from a variety of sign-in providers. You can record events and user properties in analytics to find out what your users are really doing in your app, and combine that with remote config to run A/B tests or personalize your app for different groups of users. You can add services like Crashlytics so you can find out exactly where your app is crashing and why, and so much more. In fact, you know what? Let me know in the comments below which features you most want to see, and I'll see if I can work on those first for future episodes of Firecasts. And of course, if you want to find out more, why not subscribe to our YouTube channel? You can also check out the documentation at firebase.flutter.dev and play around with any of our sample apps. So have fun creating, and I will see you soon on another episode of Firecasts.
All right, guys, that concludes our Firebase Day overall event series. This also includes our whole event series that's been going on for the whole week. So we've been having separate sessions or separate celebratory days for each of Google's technologies. I think we started off with Flutter, then we did Android, machine learning or TensorFlow, and today was Firebase. Thank you so much for joining in and being a part of this. Let me know in the comments whether you're viewing this live or offline. If you'd like to see something different in a Firebase sort of setting, or if you have any recommendations. And also, if you have like any suggestions for future content, maybe you'd like to set up a Firebase community locally. I don't know if Firebase into the is my camera gone? Oh no, wait, sorry. Yeah, if you guys are familiar with it or would like to set something up, yeah, feel free to leave comments and I will get back to it. Thank you once again for joining, and have a great rest of your Sunday. I will go and get some coffee. All right, take care, bye.